Yeah, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stokastic.com NBA Deeper Dive, presented by No House Advantage here on a somber Monday. Crippling defeat last night for the Eagles at the hands of the Kansas City Chiefs, but we move on. I went out and I got a respite from all this shit today. Took the dog out, went down to the water. Nice 57-degree day in February here in the Northeast. And climate change ain't so bad, huh? Joe, I'm Dave Loughran at Lafayette_D. Happy to have you guys with us. Joined as always by Adam Scherer at Ship My Money DFS. What's going on, man?
Not much. Enjoyable Super Bowl for the most part. Obviously more so for me than for you probably, but it was a good game. Obviously sucked having that penalty, regardless of, like you and I were talking before the show, regardless of if you thought it should have been called or it was a penalty or whatever. It sucks that you lost the potential, Jalen Hurts drive, but it was actually an entertaining Super Bowl. Had a good time watching it.
It was great. It was the best Super Bowl we've seen in a little while, for sure.
Yeah.
You could argue it's the best one since Eagles Patriots, just because it was close the entire game. Listen, yeah. I was fired up last night, obviously. Had a few, and when that happened, I'm like, this is crazy. Because you're looking at this, there's a minute 45 or whatever left, and you go, all right, here we go. Like, if they had lost on that drive, you go, all right, Chiefs won. Heck of it. That was amazing. 58 minutes of that game were incredible. Adam, listen, of course I was pissed. I said something today. I went and I cleansed my soul. I said, congrats to Chiefs fans. Great game. Andy Reid's an amazing play caller. Mahomes is the GOAT. I get it. But I mean, ultimately, especially from a fan perspective like you, just like a fan of the game, being able to see the full 60 minutes of like, oh, okay, now we got a 3-point game. No one's been able to stop anyone all night long through 58 minutes. It could have been, one of the best Super Bowls ever had we gotten that final drive.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, what I was saying before the show. As a fan, like, I get why that call was made. I said to you, I think that Patrick Mahomes was a big reason for it. Like, I think if he didn't make that pass and throw it where he threw it, I think he kind of just forced the ref's hand on that. So, like, I get why it was called. I don't really have an issue with it being called. But
Bradbury said it was a penalty,
right.
too.
But, like, as a fan, like, I just didn't want it to be called because I wanted the field goal with 2 minutes to go or whatever it was, and then the full Jalen Hurts drive, as somebody that didn't have a rooting interest at all, really.
Also, like, yeah, he got his jersey, but it wasn't it wasn't a flagrant. You know
right.
what I mean?
That's why, again, like, I think if Mahomes, like, just doesn't see it and scrambles, throws the ball somewhere else, I don't think that gets called. I think once he throws it up in the end zone and it just looks like, there's a 5-yard gap between Juju and where the pass landed because his jersey got grabbed, I think that's when you saw the flag come in.
Well, now we'll never know. But hey, what are you going to do? We got 11 games to talk about today. 4 days left. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of basketball. And then you've got the All-Star break. Yeah, is this All-Star break longer than usual?
No, I think it's about the same.
Is it? I feel like it's okay. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It's 6 days. Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought they were 5 before. I guess not. Anyway, give us a little bit of a break here. We'll still have hockey and PGA and MMA and all that good stuff. But heck of a Super Bowl. Sucks it went the way it did. Hopefully we get back sometime soon. The problem with people in Philly, I'm telling you guys right now, and you need to knock it off. Stop being confident. Stop. I'm telling you, man, it's something I don't like to see around here. And it was oh, dude, everyone's drinking the Kool-Aid. They got the bug. We got this. Easy where? Oh, yeah, with our defensive line. You guys have watched the shows. I said, you got to pump the brakes here. If we can't get to Mahomes, we lose.
The thing that really sucks is that Jalen Hurts played such a great game.
Great game.
Doesn't get a Super Bowl win. And now he's in the same division as Sam Howell for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, that sucks, dude. That sucks. He had one huge miscue, which resulted in a 7-point swing the other way. Huge. And he's probably beating himself up for that. But ultimately, great game. But yeah, you can't. Can we please go back to being pessimists? It works so much better, right? It works so much better. When Strahan goes, I got the Eagles by 10. I go, all right, I shouldn't even watch this game. All 4 of them, Howie Long, all those guys, Jimmy Johnson. They go Eagles by 7, Eagles by 10. Like, that's it. That's it. Can't win.
Somebody just mentioned it in chat too, and I had forgotten to mention it. how lucky is the NFL that you had that questionable call so people shut up about the field? Like, that was unbelievable.
Horrible. What? How do you, and we'll get to basketball in 2 seconds here. We started early. Don't worry. It's the Super Bowl, please. Not that anybody's saying anything, but there's always one. You know how. That field was so bad that even after these guys en masse changed their cleats, it didn't make a difference.
Right.
Like, how many injuries could there have been that were significant?
I mean, my favorite part was just like, you had all of the people like tweeting out the information about this field before the game and, like congratulating all the people that were involved in it.
It was horrible.
And then those people are probably just sitting there watching the game going like, holy shit, I wish that had not happened. Like, let me be at fault anonymously, please.
Big time. Yeah. Freezing cold take style right there. Like, that's going straight over to that. It affected each team equally though.
Yeah. I saw, I don't even remember if I saw it on Twitter or here, like in chat earlier or whatever, but like you had somebody just kind of listing off the things that went wrong for the Eagles. And it was just like the field conditions. And it was like,
that everyone's playing on the same field.
Playing on the same shitty field.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's their defense couldn't stop a good quarterback and good play calling, and they hadn't faced one all year long. But now we got the Eagles 47-10. Yeah, all right. Anyway, those people bother me more than anybody else. You guys cut it out. All right, let's talk some basketball here. 11 games, just out of the gate. How much value are we working with today? By the way, LeBron James was ruled out. Kyle Kuzma was ruled out. Tyler Hero was ruled out. There's a decent amount of kind of marquee names that are not going to be playing tonight.
Yeah, we definitely got some more stuff opening up over the past hour. We also, Hero being out makes a pretty big difference. I would say that's like the biggest one, I think, that we've gotten since this morning. We have some good value. Some of it, and we had it this morning, some of it I think is questionable, and we'll get to that when we get there. Questionable in that I understand why they're getting ownership. I think that they are good plays, but I think that they're also getting too much ownership. I think people maybe are a little bit too confident, but we did get a little bit more opening up. LeBron being out, obviously, I don't think brings any one particular Laker into like being a great option, but it makes several of them look better than they did. Hero being out certainly opens up some value on Miami, makes Miami in general look better. But yeah, it's still kind of an interesting slate where like when you look at the ownership right now, the three highest projected guys on DraftKings and 4 of the top 5 are 4,500 or below. So there is value, but then you also, can get into like, how much do you trust that value?
Let's do it. Oh, before we do, most of the commercials were ass again. Those Pepsi commercials are terrible.
I didn't see most of them. I was only
just terrible. But there's one where you scan a QR code. The whole commercial is just a QR code. You got Rick rolled, which is pretty funny. And then there's a Tubi commercial where it makes it seem like you flipped off the channel and someone's sitting on the remote and all the apps are going wild. We all stand up and start panicking. They're looking at me, yelling at me. I didn't touch it. That was a really good one. That was really good.
Yeah. And it worked out like perfect for me because like I wasn't completely paying attention to the commercials. I was at my mom's house and I just see the TV start flipping and I look, I'm like, Mom, what the hell are you doing? Like,
exactly.
Give me the remote.
Exactly.
Like, and the game is on. Give me the remote. What are you doing?
She's
like, I don't have the remote.
Yeah, it was really good. Hey, hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Atone for your sins. You know the drill around here. Take less than a second. And if you hate the show, hit the thumbs down, but make sure to do it twice. More than anything, though, we love you guys. It helps us a ton. Wash yourselves clean of that stench. Bow down genuflect before the YouTube overlords and help us get these numbers up and keep the lights on. So if you haven't done so, a little thumbs up action out of the gate. Subscribe to the channel. Let's talk about the Atlanta Hawks here going up against the Charlotte Hornets. So John Collins and Bogdan Bogdanovic are both questionable today. That's seemingly important here. Like you got Capella sub 6K getting a little bit of love. Trae Young in the low double digits. Everybody else kind of just on the back burner. But what if John Collins and/or Bogdan Bogdanovic are out?
I'd be curious to see what they do with the starting lineup. You have Saddiq Bey available. Does he just move into the starting lineup in place of John Collins if Collins is out? In which case he is already 5,700 on DraftKings, so I don't think he'd be that exciting. He is still playing with a high usage Trae Young. He'd still be playing with DeJounte Murray. So he would certainly look better if he's starting than if he's not. He's completely unplayable off the bench at 5,700. But maybe somewhat interesting, especially if Bogdan's out too. You would think if Bey is starting, he's getting a bunch of minutes. But where it could potentially be more interesting is if AJ Griffin starts at 3K flat with shooting guard, small forward eligibility. If Jalen Johnson were to start at 3,100, those guys are both minimum salary, pretty favorable positional eligibility and not bad point per minute guys. So a lot would depend on what the starting lineup looks like.
Okay. As it stands right now, how much Capella do you have? How deep do you think center is tonight compared to some of these other big slates?
Center's still extremely deep. And the reason is that you have a mispriced Mark Williams. You have Nick Richards in that same spot where if Mark Williams plays fewer minutes than expected, Nick Richards is getting more than expected. So you just have mispriced centers on Charlotte. You have Zach Collins, who's still cheap. Brutal spot for him, but still cheap. Drew Eubanks is cheap. You have Embiid on the slate. You have Jokic on the slate, maybe without Jamal Murray. You have Capella. You have Vooch in a good spot. You have, Joe Val against OKC. You have maybe Gobert in a decent spot. There's a lot at center. And Capella is one of them. Good matchup against Charlotte. He is pulling 14% ownership. You have Walker Kessler in this price range as well. You have Miles Turner on the other side of Walker Kessler. It's another just ridiculous center slate. So I am a little surprised that Capella is pulling 13, 14% ownership. I just thought it would be a little bit lower given that there are so many guys to get to. But at the same time, it's a very good spot for Capella. You're likely getting 28 to 30 minutes from him. I think he's a good play.
You have anything else on Atlanta or you want to get into this? Yeah, go ahead.
Trae Young, also a good play. Just the normal, good matchup going up against Charlotte. 9,700, certainly a good price tag.
All right, let's get into the centers rotation here for the Charlotte Hornets. Now that Plumlee is gone, we talked about it already. We've got a couple games now under the belt since that was the case. But so Mark Williams last game, foul trouble, caught his he caught 2 fouls in the first quarter, then comes back for 48 seconds, catches that third foul, had a 4th foul in the third quarter as well. So you would assume that his minutes were suppressed a little bit because of that. Played real solid minutes in that first game without Mason Plumlee, was dirt cheap, essentially minimum salary. Very popular today, though, against the Hawks. Nick Richards once again getting, 2% ownership. He's played 17 and then 27 minutes last game. Of course, some of that due to Mark Williams' foul trouble. But let's try and sift through this one because there's a huge discrepancy in ownership once again between these two bigs for Charlotte.
Yeah, and I think one way you can handle this if you use Fantasy Cruncher or if you use an optimizer in general that has the settings you can do this. Normally I don't, but here's a spot where I think setting something like if you don't have Mark Williams, bump Nick Richards' projection by 20% or something makes a lot of sense because you're getting 48 minutes from these two guys. We got 30 minutes, almost 31 from Williams against Boston. You got about 17 from Richards. Last game, you got 21 and a half from Williams. You got 27 from Richards. On average, I expect 26 to 28 minutes from Williams. I expect 20 to 22 from Richards. Williams is the better point per minute guy. He's the one that you're certainly going to want to get to first. But when Williams gets in foul trouble or for any reason doesn't play more minutes, it's a 1-to-1 just going straight to Nick Richards playing time. And so if Mark Williams disappoints at 4K, it's very likely that Nick Richards does not disappoint at 3,600 because Williams is so mispriced at 4K that the only real way for him to disappoint is to play fewer minutes than you're projecting. And if that happens, Nick Richards is playing a lot more than you're projecting. So I think it is actually a reasonable spot to basically just say, with it being an 11-game slate, I don't want to just say you have to have one of Williams or Richards because you don't. Yeah. But I think it's a very reasonable spot to say look, if Mark Williams doesn't show up in this lineup that's built, run it as if Nick Richards projects 20% higher than his actual projection.
That's a great call. Yeah. Because right now you're looking at almost 40% of the field on Mark Williams. And to your point, though, he is, grossly mispriced. But
yeah, exactly. 1.18 DraftKings points per minute overall this season, 1.12 with LaMelo on the floor. The Hawks they're in the top 10 in rebounds allowed. They're in the top 5 in blocks allowed. It's just a completely mispriced salary on Mark Williams.
Yeah, the Hawks also a team that play at an elevated pace. You've got two teams here that are top 10 in pace. What do you make of a sub 5K Gordon Hayward? He's been hovering. He's really been stuck at the same price tag for a while now. The production has been underwhelming, but it's not like he's not playing big minutes. I mean, he's played 35 and 36 minutes in 2 of his last 3 games and 30 in the other.
So one thing I wanted to mention, because it just came up in chat, somebody said he's more of a player on DraftKings, not as much on FanDuel. That's technically correct because you have one center spot on FanDuel and he's 5,200. He's still a very good play on FanDuel and he is still one of the most popular centers on FanDuel. So this isn't a situation where it's just oh yeah, he's mispriced on DraftKings, stay away on FanDuel. He's pulling 33% ownership on FanDuel, 18% chance of being optimal. He's averaged more fantasy points per minute on FanDuel than DraftKings this year, thanks to 3.4 blocks per 100 possessions and 2.4 steals per 100 possessions. So certainly don't sleep on him on FanDuel either. But on DraftKings, it's just going to be a lot easier to say, like, all right, I'm just getting a lot of Mark Williams, whereas on FanDuel, the opportunity cost is obviously higher. But as far as the rest of this team goes, Gordon Hayward has been playing more. He's 4,900, hasn't been a great point per minute guy this year, not a really high usage rate. He's playing with LaMelo and Terry Rozier. They're both going to be higher usage guys, but he's cheap enough in a good spot that, with small forward, power forward eligibility, he's a pretty useful option. LaMelo, there's a lot of guards you can pay up for. There's a lot of guys in this price range in general you can pay for, but it's a good spot for LaMelo as well. I think that LaMelo and Hayward are two secondary options here where Mark Williams is a clear priority. Terry Rozier Rozier and Washington would be my fourth guys. I don't really care which one, where they look okay, but I think they're a step behind Hayward and Ball and certainly behind Williams.
Hey, DM Brian, what's up, man? Got the badge. You want to join too? Hit that join down below. Get this free super chats each month, the custom emojis, the sweet badges that you see all scattered throughout chat. Asked a question. Keep this quick, just because we got so many games at him. But he was saying, how would you do that in Fantasy Cruncher? He was referring to the essentially boosting Richards without Williams, like in non-Williams lineups.
That's a good question because I know you can do it, and I don't remember off the top of my head how. And looking very quickly, I don't remember how. But it's something I'm going to figure out before the slate starts.
And we can always revisit that tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going here. San Antonio Spurs and Cleveland Cavaliers. Hey, did you like the halftime show?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
So nice. Like I didn't think it was like the best thing I'd ever seen. I certainly didn't dislike it. Like she has a ton of hits. I enjoyed it. Like it was whatever.
Listening to it, I was shocked how many songs I actually knew. I just
I wasn't shocked how many I knew because like I knew that I knew a lot of her songs, but it was one of those where like I just didn't realize how many distinct individual like songs she had because in my head they all just kind of run together.
Yeah. My thing though is I hate when people turn music off, like a song off halfway through it and change to another song. So I just hate halftime show.
Yeah.
Like a good song, I want to hear the whole song, not 30 seconds. Yeah. The Chris Stapleton national anthem, by the way, was incredible.
I missed it.
Oh, dude, I'll send it. I'm not a country fan either. I understand why people were tearing up on the sidelines. One of the best things I've ever heard in my life. No joke. Fantastic. Anyway, San Antonio Spurs. Zach Collins got into some early foul trouble last game. Only played 3 minutes in the first quarter, finished with 23 minutes. Huge game prior to that. Not exactly an easy matchup here against Cleveland. Greg and I did the No House Advantage show, and I was on the under 30.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Traditional books have it at 22.5 today, so it seemed like a good spot. But it's a tough matchup, but he is still underpriced relative to the fact that, Jakob Poeltl is no longer in San Antonio. How are you approaching the Spurs today?
So Keith Mason said it in chat, and he's right. That's what it is. Make Mark Williams a key player. Then set it to, and then, put Nick Richards in the group. Set it to if no key players are used, and then just check the only apply plus minus adjustments box, and you'll be able to make it, you'll be able to bump Nick Richards' projection that way. As far as the Spurs go, Collins is the only guy that I'm really interested in from a fantasy standpoint. He's pulling 19% ownership. He's only 4,500. He also dealt with foul trouble last game, which was really frustrating for me on that slate because he started out on fire and then just immediately picked up 2 fouls in 3 minutes. But he's another one where if he avoids foul trouble and the game is competitive, you're likely getting 28 to 30 minutes from him. The question marks here are that it's a very difficult matchup in general against Cleveland. And on top of that, the Spurs are 15-point dogs on the road. Not that you're, predicting a massive blowout, but there's a very good chance that nobody relevant for the Spurs is playing down the stretch of this game. So that does certainly knock Collins down a bit compared to what I thought of him last slate against Atlanta. And he looks okay, but he's pulling 19% ownership. I don't think I don't think he's going under owned or anything. And I do think there are some pivots around him that look good as well.
Okay. And then outside of Zach Collins, it's just kind of ugly.
Yeah, Devontae Graham is somewhat interesting to me, especially because he's only pulling about 8% ownership right now at 3,500. We have a Q tag on McDermott. We have a Q tag on Charles Bassey. We know that Trey Jones and Romeo Langford are both out. if Graham is going to play like 24, 25 minutes off the bench, I think he's a little bit underpriced at 3,500. You could see him in the starting lineup as well. I don't necessarily think that's the case, but he could certainly replace Trey Jones. 2 games ago, we had Blake Wesley in the starting lineup, but then last game, Wesley only played garbage time. Dominic Barlow was ahead of Wesley. So I don't know. Are they going to go to Barlow? Are they going to go to Devontae Graham? I don't know what they're going to do. But obviously, if he starts, his ownership's going to come up, but you can feel safer about his minutes. If he comes off the bench, though, there's still a good chance you're getting around 24, 25 minutes from Devontae Graham at 3,500.
On the other side with Cleveland, like you said, laying 15, 224.5 total here. Is this just kind of like hey, if you get to the Allens, the Mitchells, the Mobleys, maybe a little Garland, it's cool, but no real priorities in this spot? Because it is a great matchup. It's just a matter of whether or not they're priorities on such a huge slate.
Yeah, it's more so it's just 4 guys from Cleveland, basically, where if they get into a lineup, cool. It's a great matchup against the Spurs. Clearly, you have some concerns over who's going to be on the floor at the end of the game, but we talk about it a lot. If this game's a blowout, it could certainly just mean the Spurs were unable to score on the Cavs and nothing really happened on the Cavs side either. But of the games that do end up being massive blowouts, a lot of those are going to involve somebody on Cleveland just going nuts for 3 quarters. And, yeah, it's going to suck. You don't get the 4th quarter too, but there's a reason you don't get it. And it's because of how well they played through 3. So I think you're going to be happy with any of Allen, Mobley, Mitchell, Garland. Mobley's of those 4, Mobley is typically my least favorite fantasy option, but I think he's actually the easiest to get to on tonight's slate. He does have the highest optimal percentage on DraftKings of this team. And it's just that forward isn't quite as deep tonight as the guard spots and the center spots are, center in particular. So I love Jared Allen in the spot, but there's so many good centers. We named like 20 of them a minute ago, and I don't think I had even mentioned Allen. So, he's just another one. Mitchell and Garland both certainly look good in this spot, but they're also priced up a bit. Evan Mobley's actually the easiest guy to get to, I think, from Cleveland.
Okay. Let's talk about Utah and Indy. 1 point spread here. Utah getting the point on the road, 238 total. Listen, Taylor Horton-Tucker, this guy getting considerable ownership today. He's played 27 minutes in back-to-back games. Been very productive, no doubt. Also, highly efficient last game. I wouldn't expect that same type of shooting every single night out. But how about that? You look at the assist totals on him, like well-rounded stat lines over the first couple of games over his last couple of games. Yeah,
pretty fluky stuff too, though, in terms of playing time, I think.
Sure.
Horton-Tucker makes sense as a value play. I don't want this to come off as me just shitting on Horton-Tucker the play, because I think he's fine. 3,900 is probably a cheaper price tag than he should be. On average, I think you're going to get around 24 minutes from him. He's not a bad point per minute guy. Overall this year, 1 fantasy point per minute. All of that's fine. And he has a clear path. If anything goes wrong for Utah, he can step into more minutes very easily because he's capable of playing multiple positions. He can do a lot of things on the floor. In these couple of games that have coincided with Utah making trades, you had a blowout where Horton-Tucker played 11 minutes in the first half, played about 22 minutes, then picked up 4 minutes of garbage time. And then last game, you had Kelly Olynyk and Colin Sexton at different times dealing with foul trouble. Very likely that Horton-Tucker doesn't play that entire 4th quarter last game if you don't have both of those guys in foul trouble. Sexton played 2 minutes and went back to the bench between the end of the 3rd, beginning of the 4th. So Clarkson subbed back in earlier than normal. And then you had Olynyk pick up his 5th foul. So it just made it difficult to get Horton-Tucker back out of the game. But he had once again only played about 11 or 12 minutes in the first half. So if everything goes according to plan for Utah, you're probably getting 22 to 24 minutes from Horton-Tucker, which still isn't bad at 3,900. And this is why I still think he's a perfectly fine play. I think he's just going a little bit over-owned at 33% because I think people are maybe assuming that it's very easy to do. Just say oh, trade deadline happened. Now Horton-Tucker plays 27, 28 minutes. I don't think that's actually the case, but it will be the case often enough given foul trouble for other guys or blowouts or just Horton-Tucker being hot that it still makes him a good play. I just think he's a little bit more popular than I'm comfortable with.
What about Sexton at this price point? Of course, Clarkson is back. He had missed a game. But, no Mike Conley, Russell Westbrook, probably a buyout situation there. So they're a little bit more thin at the guard position. Sexton's price has come up from the 4K flat that he was at. He's at 5,200, but still getting some love today.
Yeah. So I wanted to say I misspoke on the Toronto game. That wasn't a blowout. You just had Horton-Tucker close that game out. But there was something There was something about that game that was weird. I think it might have just been that he ended up closing. But that was the game Clarkson was out. Never mind. So yeah, and then last game you had the foul trouble. As far as Sexton goes, I like him here. You got 37 minutes against Toronto. Last game he still played 30 and a half. And again, he lost several minutes going into the fourth quarter. So there's a good chance, you're getting 32 plus minutes from Sexton. He's about a fantasy point per minute guy. Price tag has come up a little bit to 5,200, but I think he looks very good. I'm more comfortable with him than I am Horton Tucker. But Horton Tucker does, have the cheaper price tag and the better positional eligibility.
What about the rest of Utah today? Very popular, as a matter of fact, across the board.
Yeah, and I think they should be. Good spot going up against Indiana. Walker Kessler is getting quite a bit of ownership at 5,600, as he probably should be. No Jared Vanderbilt here anymore. You got 35 minutes from him last game. Again, he probably plays a little bit less if Kelly Olynyk's not in foul trouble. We had seen in the game, we'd seen a game recently where Olynyk closed at center over Kessler. I don't remember which. It was. Yeah, I don't remember which game it was, but you had seen Olynyk over Kessler. So that's always something that can happen if Olynyk's not in foul trouble. But Kessler's just such a good point per minute guy at 5,600. He gives you such good block upside in a good matchup that I think he's a good play. He's pulling 16%. Olynyk at 4,800, power forward eligible, looks good to me. Lost a few minutes last game because of fouls, but on average, he's playing about 28 minutes per game as a starter this year. If he does avoid foul trouble, you could certainly get north of 30. He's a good point per minute guy as well, 0.92 DraftKings points per minute. We know the ceiling Clarkson gives you, another guy that's about a fantasy point per minute. So this whole team looks good. Sexton is my preferred option overall. Horton Tucker, again, is a really tricky spot where I think he's a good value, but I also think he's going a little bit over-owned. So it really just with him matters, what are you able to do with the rest of your lineup to differentiate?
Flip to the other side.
Larry Markkanen's price tag on FanDuel is absolutely insane.
Let's flip to the other side. With the Pacers here. Now, to throw this out there, Miles Turner and Tyrese Halliburton are both questionable. But I actually want to start with Mathurin. 31, 33 minutes over his last two games. Very solid usage there. Not exactly the most overwhelming performances from this guy, but how many minutes can we confidently project him for on a night like tonight? Because he is 4,600 on DraftKings.
Yeah, I typically expect like 26 to 28. We have him in for 29. I think that's reasonable as well. Shooting guard, small forward. We know he's pretty one-dimensional from a fantasy standpoint, but he's going to go out there and look to score, and it certainly gives you a nice ceiling at this price. 25.8% usage rate for the year, 0.91 DraftKings points per minute. I think he's another just good value option, especially given the shooting guard, small forward eligibility. This is a spot where, he's $700 more expensive than Horton Tucker, but if you can find a way to make that salary work, I don't think he should be getting 1/3 or a little over 1/3 the ownership of Horton Tucker. I think they're a lot more similar than that.
Hey, couple super chats here that I want to get to. First off, Avi, you're the man, dude. The Stokastic Hall of Fame's coming up, the segment between this and Live Before Lock. You said, thanks for the tips, fellas. I won 1,900 yesterday on FanDuel Showdown. Awesome, man. Yeah, we got you up. Jordan, right? He's on there. He's on there. We got you up there, inducted into the Hall of Fame. And then a $200 super chat from our boy Anthony Davis. Appreciate you, man. Anthony's always been an amazing supporter of this show. I know he DM'd me the other day, had a really nice win. Said, this is my appreciation for all that you do. Also want to show love to the DFS community for the support that we share. I mean, just positive thoughts with this guy. Gotta love it. Good luck tonight, everyone. How about that? $200 super chat, Adam.
Yeah, it's awesome, and congrats on the win.
Yeah, congrats, man. You're the best, Anthony. Appreciate you. My filler arcs, Strus, Braun, or Chanchar?
Strus. So I mean, Brown and Chanchar, it's extremely highly dependent on Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon. Right now, the answer is very, very, very clearly Strus. It could change depending on Gordon and Murray.
Okay. RADM, don't live in the U.S., so no FanDuel or DraftKings where I play. Mark Williams is 9,700, Embiid 16K, Jokic 15K. Did you see this one?
Yeah, I have no idea without knowing the salary cap or scoring structure or anything else, but it seems like Williams is priced more in line with where he should be. But again, it's really tough without knowing how any of that is relative to salary or other options. like I would blindly say that Jokic and Embiid should probably be more than 1.5 and 1.6 times Mark
Right.
Williams' salary.
Yeah, that's about
Like
all you can
that
do.
strikes me as a pricing structure where Embiid and Jokic are underpriced.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. 9-7 and 15K. Yeah. All right. Let's wrap up Indy here. Of course, we have to pay and live before lock after this, but we got to pay attention to this Halliburton and Miles Turner news.
Yeah, absolutely. If they play, they're both perfectly fine tournament options, but there's just nothing that really stands out to me here other than Benedict Mathurin. If those guys are out, I mean, we know how it goes with 5K TJ McConnell. If Halliburton's out, obviously it would make Nemhard and Neesmith look a bit better as well. If Turner is out, maybe you get Daniel Tice starting. Maybe you get something else like Isaiah Jackson, but you're going to get some cheap center moving into the starting lineup, you would assume. So certainly really, really big news there that could completely change the slate. If those guys are in, though, $9,200 Halliburton in a good spot. I like it as a contrarian play. It's just I can't argue that he's like a priority, but certainly like it as a contrarian piece. And Turner gives you plenty of ceiling as well. It's just that he's center only.
Jayshawn Tate, moving this one over to Houston here, going up against the Philadelphia 76ers. By the way, now all it takes is the Sixers losing in the finals because the Phillies lost in the World Series this year. The Union lost in the championship. The Eagles just lost the Super Bowl. So
is that soccer?
What?
The Union, is that soccer?
Yeah, first soccer game first MLS game I've ever watched, and they said it was the best championship game like ever to be. It was apparently like it was against LA, and I can't stack it up against anything because I haven't watched it, but it was incredible. But they lost in a shootout. That's the way it goes. But yeah, Houston 13.5 point dogs today. Jayshawn Tate, 3,500. He's not a fantasy point per minute guy, but he's pulling some ownership today, 17%. I guess if he gets like 24 minutes or so, it's understandable. But are you in line with that?
Yeah, I mean, we got him in the starting lineup last game. He played about 24.5 minutes. He'd played 24 or 25 off the bench recently as well. He's just cheap with point guard and small forward eligibility. This is kind of just another spot where I don't love that Jayshawn Tate is this popular on an 11-game slate. Obviously there's ways this can go wrong. It's not a particularly appealing matchup, but he's a 0.83 DraftKings point per minute guy. You could certainly see the ball in his hands a bit more with Kevin Porter Jr. still out as well. We've seen in the past that he is capable as a playmaker when given opportunities, but also like everything just comes back to being compared to Talen Horton-Tucker, because when you think about the projected ownership and optimal percentages and stuff like that, it does kind of also give you I know they're always talked about in context of like over-owned, under-owned, there's a ton of ownership coming in here, but ownership percentages also are typically going to kind of just give you a quick way to gauge where you are looking for value, like what positions you're looking for it at, what price ranges. And so just sort of seeing all the ownership come into Horton-Tucker makes me think that Jayshawn Tate's price range is useful. And then again, I just don't think he's, 1/3 the play that Talen Horton-Tucker is. So if that ownership were to condense where you're getting both of them around 22 to 25%, I wouldn't really have a strong preference. But if Jayshawn Tate is going to start and pull 16% ownership and Horton-Tucker is going to come off the bench and pull 32, 33, I just like getting to a little bit more Jayshawn Tate.
Outside of that, though, is there anything from Houston in this spot?
No, I mean, it goes without saying that Jalen Green and Alperen Sengun have massive ceilings without Kevin Porter Jr. Jalen Green's going to shoot a lot, but he is inefficient. It's not a great matchup. But yeah, the ceiling's there. And then for Sengun, you just have you have the center position. Like he's 8,100. He's a 1.3 to 1.4 fantasy point per minute guy without Porter. If he avoids foul trouble, he's likely playing 34 minutes. That is a big if going up against what we expect to be a Joel Embiid led front court. But the biggest issue is just there's such a high, like of the percentage of games where like Sengun goes out there and gets you like 45, 50, 52 DraftKings points, so many of them are going to end up being wasted because some combination of Collins, Eubanks, Richards, Williams, like any of those guys go for like 35, or you get, Kessler, Capella matching Sengun, like all of that stuff. There's just so many alternatives that it makes it relatively likely that happens. And that's why you're only seeing a 3.5% optimal percentage on Sengun.
I know this is a real tough question for you to answer, but you look at Embiid, he's a 1.66 DraftKings point per minute guy this year, 37+% usage, 22% assist rate, 17% rebounding, 4+% block rate. Like across the board, the numbers are insane. He's questionable. He's been questionable. That's just been standard practice at this point. And then he ends up playing. And I know he went through shoot around. God, he just played 37 and 38 minutes on back-to-backs. And now 37, 38 minutes on back-to-backs, 13.5-point favorites. I'm not saying he doesn't play, but I do have some concerns here that Joel Embiid's minutes are maybe a little bit curtailed in a spot like this. It's just, I mean, it's a great spot. Don't get me wrong, but I think there are some concerns. Maybe we can't worry about it. I don't know. What do you think?
To me, the concerns are just, it's a 13-point spread. Like he might not need to play down the stretch.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
The flip side to that is that we've seen his minutes and we've seen Harden's minutes trending up recently. You know, they had both sort of for a brief stretch, you were just getting like 34, 35 minutes from Harden. You were getting like 34 from Embiid. So, you know, I do like the playing time we've seen recently in general. I like getting to Embiid quite a bit here. I mean, it's a very good matchup for him. The issues are just, you know, paying up at center on the slate is tough because of the opportunity cost, like we've been saying. But, you know, if you can get there, I like getting there. I think I actually like him a little bit more than Jokic if Jamal Murray is in. If Murray's out, they're a lot closer for me. But 14.5% ownership coming into Embiid, I don't have any issues with that. I will also say we only have 3% coming into Jokic. So from a just Embiid versus Jokic ownership standpoint, that gap is too wide. But I do think I would get to Embiid before I got to Jokic.
And we'll get to that Denver game right after this, but let's close out Philly here. Any interest in the of course, assuming Embiid plays, I'm going to leave because we have 11 games in the slate. I'm going to leave the what if Joel Embiid is out analysis to lie before lock because they'll have news. And it's a 7 p.m. game, so that should be no issue. But what else do we have here behind Embiid and the Hardens, Harris's, Maxey's?
Philly's actually a really interesting tournament team. So James Harden, obviously at 9,800, he's a good play if you can get there. You project him for 36, 37 minutes. He's a good point per minute guy. Where I think they're really interesting in tournaments, though, are these other pieces that you typically ignore. Tobias Harris is down to 5,200 on DraftKings. Tyrese Maxey is 5,200. DeAnthony Melton is 4,200 shooting guard, small forward. And Jalen McDaniels is 3,200 small forward, power forward. On a slate, keep in mind, where Taylor Horton-Tucker is pulling 33% ownership. Jayshawn Tate's pulling 16. Like these cheap wings are really useful. And the reason I think it's so interesting is, you know, the minutes more or less you're going to get for Harris. You know, he played 28.5 last game. Typically you're getting like 32, 33 from him. But we've seen DeAnthony Melton at times play 28, 30 minutes as a starter. If you get that game here, 4,200 is too cheap of a price for him against Houston. If you don't get that game, it's very likely you're getting the 31 to 33 minute Tyrese Maxey game, you know, coming off a game where he just played 34. If he plays those minutes, he's too cheap at 5,200. And if neither of those things happen, you probably got like 20 to 22 minutes from Jalen McDaniels instead of 16. So I think it's a really interesting relationship between those three guys where on average, yeah, none of them really stand out, because if you just say like, you know, Maxey plays 26 or 27 and Melton plays 24 or 25 and McDaniels plays 16, none of them look great, but there's just such a high percentage of the time that one of those guys picks up more minutes based on how they're playing or how the game is going, that I do think there's a lot of volatility that creates really, really high tournament upside for that trio.
Talk about Miami hosting Denver here. We'll get to Jokic in a second. Before we do that, shout out to No House Advantage, because first off, Greg and I did the show today. Last time Greg and I did that show, we went 9-10. We're trying to have a perfect card today, but the link's in the description and in chat. You're getting 100% deposit bonus up to $100. So if you deposit 100, your account's going to show 200. If you deposit 50, your account's going to show 100. It's that simple. All of our tools are free as well. So let's say you're doing the pick'em ones, right, where there's been a shit ton of overlay at No House Advantage, and you're like, all right, I want to take advantage of this, and I want to get in on this overlay. I'm using the money that I've got from the deposit bonus. We're in business. We got that for free. All of the best, all of the odds, right? Odds on every over and every under for every projected player, all of it free. If you're playing against the house, you go, all right, I'm going to go 5 for 5. I'm trying the 21X my entry. Okay. I know a lot of people, because we built lineups out yesterday on the deeper dive for NFL. I know a lot of people had some great days, no house advantage with that against the house, 21xing their entry. That's huge. And if you're just looking for optimal lineups, you don't want to do any of the work. We got an optimal lineups tab that you can throw in there. All you're doing is taking that, throwing them in there, and looking at ones today. Man, like the static props are crazy. Bradley Beal points, 20.5. You have no Kyle Kuzma. Look at Anthony Davis points. All of this came out before LeBron, before Kyle Kuzma were ruled out. Rudy Gobert's at 14.5 rebounds. Every traditional book's got him at 10.5 rebounds, so that's way lower. Michael Porter, 2.5 assists. Over, under, we got 91% odds for the under to hit here. Just an awesome tool. Makes your life way easier. And if you haven't checked it out yet, highly suggest you do so. Not to mention, it's 25% full with an hour and a half to go. So if it's available, if No House Advantage is available, use the link in the description, use the link in chat, sign up. And honestly, look, you could put $10 in, get your deposit bonus. But in a spot like this where they're legitimately saying, all right, 100% deposit bonus up to $100, if you have the 100, use it. That makes no difference to me or anybody other than you. So just a reminder there, like you only get the deposit bonus once. So if you go through that 10 and you put another 10 in, you're not getting it. So check it out. Take advantage of it, whether it's the pick 'em with the massive overlay, playing against the field or against the house where you 21 extra entries. We got all the tools for everything totally free. Links in the description, links in chat. We'll see you over there. All right, let's go Denver here. Yeah, 3% on Jokic. Obviously more expensive than Embiid, not as good a matchup, but he is an absolute monster. He faced Miami earlier this year, had a 19-12-12 triple-double, 60-plus fantasy points. But Denver might be the lowest-owned team collectively on the slate, Adam.
Yeah, at the moment. And that could certainly change with the Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon news.
Yeah, true.
But for now, assuming those guys are in, Jokic, obviously, if you can get up to him at 12K, great. Even better that he's 3% owned, but we have him with a 5% chance of being optimal. And that's just because of how insanely deep the center position is. Like, think about how many good centers you could play, how many centers you could click into your lineup and feel legitimately good about. And combined, they would cost like half of, or combined, they would cost the same as Nikola Jokic. So that's just what makes it so difficult to get there. But if you do, great. As you get more value at other positions opening up, he will certainly become easier to get to. If Murray's out, he's going to project a bit better as well. But yeah, if those guys are in, I have basically no interest in this team outside of Jokic because you've had prices come up on everybody else. Murray's up to 8,200. Gordon's at 71. Porter's at 64. If Murray is out, you should get Bruce Brown in the starting lineup. He's reasonable at 5,300. It would be a bump for Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. as well. If Murray and Gordon are both out, Brown, Porter Jr., KCP, all are going to look better in addition to Jokic. If Gordon's out, you're probably going to get a $3,700 Chancellor in the starting lineup. His salary's come up a bit, but he would still be a reasonable value for sure. Christian Brown, shooting guard, small forward at 3,400. Never an exciting guy to roster, but if Gordon and Murray are out, you could certainly see him have a pretty decent game as well. So a lot of moving parts on this team. Fortunately, it is a 7:30 game. Hopefully we'll have information, but if the questionable guys are in, this is one of the least appealing teams on the slate.
Right. Live before lock. That's why you stick around all the way up to lock. We get you set up game by game. Those guys go position, take your questions, and they make sure to hit on all of the breaking news. So we need to move over to Miami, though, because you've got Max Strus 50%, Gabe Vincent 24%, Jimmy Butler 23%. Of course, the reason being that not only are Kyle Lowry and to a lesser extent Victor Oladipo out, but now Tyler Hero's out as well. So you've got 3 guards sidelined for this game against Denver. That is opening up a ton for us tonight, Adam.
Yeah, there's a lot to like here. We already, when we talked this morning, assuming Tyler Hero was going to play, there was a lot to like. But the one thing that you had to keep in mind was that you had a shorthanded Miami team, so you have minutes opening up, but it wasn't going to have that much of an impact on Jimmy Butler or Bam Adebayo because those guys already play a lot of minutes. And when you rule out a Kyle Lowry or a Victor Oladipo, that's not having a big impact on the rates of Butler or Bam. But now you're also taking out a 25% or so usage rate Tyler Hero. There is more production available for Bam. There is more production available for Jimmy Butler. Now, Bam is center only on DraftKings, so again, it's going to be tough to get there at 9,400. On FanDuel, he's power forward eligible on FanDuel at 9,100. So still a pretty healthy price tag, but power forward eligible, certainly going to make him easier to get to. But Gabe Vincent, looks even better now than he already did. 4,500 cheap, already playing a lot of minutes, and now also playing without Tyler Hero. Max Strus looks better now. We had seen over the last few games where Miami's been shorthanded, you had like a 17 to 18 minute game from Strus. Then you had 2 games where he played north of 30 while Caleb Martin didn't play a lot. If Hero was in, it was kind of a guessing game where one of those guys was probably going to disappoint you and the other was going to look good. Now it's just hard for both of those guys not to play a lot of minutes. At 3,800 with shooting guard, small forward eligibility, Strus looks very, very good. He's getting a ton of ownership. Martin looks a bit better at 4,700. If you want to play the Haywood Highsmith pivot and just hope that like he gets some steals and does whatever it is he does when he's on the floor, which isn't a lot, at no ownership, I think that's a reasonable large field pivot. But Strus is the value. Strus and Vincent are the value pieces that really stand out here.
Okay. I'm a peep said, what do you, when you guys run your NBA lineup generators, what is a lineup owned percentage? It's a percent collectively that lineup is going to be owned. So talking chalky or contrarian. He's saying, what should I try to stay around? I'm still learning. Thanks. He's referring to the lineup generator that we have. You should ask Brajal. He should ask Brajal, Jordan, because that dude just keeps. What does he have? A 50K, a 10K, and a 10K over the last week on the lineup generator? Yeah, something that's I don't know. It's in the Hall of Fame.
Where's this question? I don't see it.
It wasn't a super chat. It was as like what he should stay around as far as like lineup. Do you have an answer for that? Just because in the lineup generator, which is half off for your first week, by the way, links in the description and in the chat. People are crushing with that. You have like how popular it is, and then you have the projection. So you have the projection and then how chalky it is. So he's asking like, where should I try and find a sweet spot for how high owned your lineup is?
There's no, I don't think there's any like clear answer, but it is to some extent going to depend on what kind of tournament you're playing. If you're playing, you're throwing a lineup into one of the like lottery type, 40,000 entry tournaments, you're probably going to just want to be giving up a little bit more in the way of ownership or in the way of projection to get a lower owned lineup. If you're playing, a single entry with 200 people, you shouldn't be trying to give up all that much at all in the way of projection. So it's really just kind of going to depend on field size, payout structure of the tournament that you're playing.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll see, if it's a smaller field, single entry, whatever, but you see it there, dude. Like you see the projection ownership. That's what he was asking about. Yeah, it's like $4 for the first week. You want to check, even if you're playing $1 a day, you're looking at a pretty solid bargain there to get half off. You want to check it out. The generators for NBA, you could do chalky lineups, whatever, contrarian lineups, all lineups, tournament cash. But yeah, and now you can late swap, and you can upload the CSV too. So like if you save 20 lineups, you can just bring them straight over to DraftKings or FanDuel and download them onto and get them in. So yeah, it's awesome. But check it out if you want. Links down there in the description. It's in chat too. You'll see all of everything that's on the screen right now, and you can really mess around with it and customize it to your liking. All right. Do you want to get to anything else for Miami here? It's pretty good breakdown there, just given all the injuries.
Nothing else for Miami. We did get Miles Turner out, Tyrese Halliburton in. So that's one where we still kind of just need to wait on the lineup. I knew exactly what I had to say if Halliburton got ruled out, but for Turner, you kind of just have to wait and see, does Tice start? Does Jackson start? It's going to create the situation where like, if Tice starts, Jackson still is somewhat interesting in tournaments, but he's very risky. If Jackson starts, then clearly he's just somebody you should be playing a ton of in tournaments.
All right. I'm glad you're loving it, Pete. It's good to hear. Good to hear. Let's go. So, by the way, we got a bunch of games left, but some of these spots are not going to take a terribly long time. Brooklyn's a 2.5 point dog, 220 total, second lowest on the slate. Is there anything at their current price points that we can feel good about for the Nets today against the Knicks?
I don't really think so. Josh and I were talking about it this morning. I think the Nets are a really interesting basketball team at this point. They just have so many wings, no true stars, but just a lot of like good NBA players. It's almost the exact opposite of what they were earlier in the year. But from a DFS standpoint, at least right now at current price tags, it's really tough to get to much of anything. Cameron Johnson is 4,900. He's okay, I guess, not getting any ownership, but not really anything special. Same goes for Bridges at 6,600. The issue you have with Nick Claxton, in addition to him being center only, is that the Nets have changed up their rotation now, where Ben Simmons is essentially just the backup center. So when Durant first went down, and then Kyrie was out as well, you had Ben Simmons in the starting lineup along with Claxton, you were getting these like 34, 35-minute games from Claxton. Now with Simmons as his backup, you're getting like 28, 29, 30 minutes because Simmons is going to play 18 to 20. That's the issue that we see a lot of times when you have centers that have a backup who is only playing the backup minutes, but is somebody that you expect the team to give, actual minutes to. You just can't expect Ben Simmons to very frequently play 12, 13 minutes. And with the rotation they're running right now, that's what would have to happen for Claxton to get back to that 35, 36-minute game. So that makes it, really tough to get to him as well. Dinwiddie's priced up to 8K. Thomas is at 7,900. Finney Smith's 5,500. I think Brooklyn's one of the least appealing teams on the slate.
Are the Knicks also, though? And I'm trying to get through some of these.
This is one of the least appealing games in general.
Okay, good. Yeah, because look, we still are going to have a bunch of games I want to hit on. Because if you look at the Lakers without LeBron, Washington without Kuzma, there's a bunch of spots later on in this slate that we really need to talk about. So feel free to expedite the process on some of these teams that you don't think deserve a ton of time.
Yeah, no, there's nothing that stands out from the Knicks. Randall, Brunson, Barrett, all could have those games, have good games, but that goes for obviously a lot of guys on any given slate. So to me, this is one of the least appealing DFS games.
All right. I think the next game is too, though, Orlando and Chicago.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit more from this game to at least in large field tournaments. I still don't think there's any real priorities here, but at least when you look at these teams, you can kind of point to interesting low-owned contrarian options. Wendell Carter Jr. pulling 4% ownership at 5,700. Do I like Walker Kessler more? Sure. Do I like a lot of these cheap centers more? Sure. Capella, but Wendell Carter is not a 4-1 dog to any of those guys. So this is a spot where in an individual lineup, you can make that sort of pivot. Jalen Suggs, $3,600. Not a great play, not a 30-1 dog to Talen Horton-Tucker either. Same kind of thing with Banchero and Fultz, where none of these guys are pulling a lot of ownership. None of them should be pulling a ton of ownership, but they are very high upside ways to just make a lineup contrarian immediately. On the other side for the Bulls, it's kind of just what you get from them whenever they're healthy. Vooch, DeRozan, Levine, all very high upside plays, all pretty much correctly priced, relatively difficult to get to. I would love to get to Vooch in the spot. He's likely to just give you a very big game, but he's a 9K center, so you can only get to so much without having to start giving up these cheaper guys. But no guys that stand out, nothing that I would expect to go into the slate saying oh yeah, I just jammed in XYZ from Chicago, Orlando. But a lot of guys that I think you can use within a given lineup just to make it different immediately.
I have a non-basketball question. A little break in the show. I want your opinion. You ready for this?
Probably not.
And I want Chad's opinion. If you had to take a guess, what are we shooting down? What are we shooting? We already know what one was, but now, you got one over Great Lake. You got another one. You got all this stuff going on. UFOs, but that just means unidentified.
I haven't even been able to come up with an interesting, what I think it could be. I've just ignored all of it.
Yeah,
whatever.
Not gonna lie,
I was kind of hoping that aliens would just show up at the Super Bowl yesterday. I thought maybe that was the end game, but apparently it wasn't. So
it's very funny you said that, because after that James Bradbury holding call, I was hoping they would show up and make it the end game. I was like, that'd be just great if they wiped me out right now. But I don't know what it is. Now China's saying they got some over the mainland too.
We probably just launched our own back at them.
I think so. It's just we don't even know if they're dude. Tough times. Ben's worried that it might be aliens. By the way,
that kind of seems like the best case scenario, doesn't it?
You think?
I mean, I'd probably rather be aliens than China or Russia just launching stuff over the US.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't. We don't know the technology that the
I guess so, but then you get into once you've shot the aliens out of the sky, your next encounter probably isn't going to be super friendly. So at that point, whether they were friendly or not, once you have flown the F-16s at them, the next time is probably not going to be that great.
Yeah. I saw someone say it. They're like, what if they're just they're real peaceful and trying to communicate with us, and they've taken this as a sign of war?
Yeah. Well, I saw a meme that was just the aliens are finding out real quick why we don't have national health insurance. It's we just launched F-16s at them.
That's a popular one. I've seen that as well. All right. Hey, with New Orleans, let's flip to New Orleans and OKC here. This is actually really interesting. Zion Williams re-aggravated the injury. He's out for the foreseeable future. CJ McCollum's questionable. I mentioned this like no house advantage. The Brandon Ingram prop on points is already really nice there. If CJ McCollum's out, then it's just a straight smash. But ever since Ingram came back and began seeing his minutes crawl back to normal, you're getting very high usage from him. You're getting considerable playing time. He's still sub 8K. He hasn't had that blow up game, but man, if McCollum sits today, that opens a lot up, especially with Zion still sidelined.
Yeah, it does. If McCollum's in, him and Ingram both look relatively interesting. I think Ingram looks a little bit better, but they'd both be pretty interesting plays. And, obviously you also get Joe Val as another pivot at the center position, 6% owned, 5,800. At this point, I think you kind of have to assume he's playing like 24 minutes, but still certainly can get it done in that playing time at a frequency high enough to make him an interesting pivot away from like Capella or Kessler. But if McCollum's out, Ingram looks great at 7,800. Like I already like him a lot, but he just looks even better. It does suck that he doesn't have Ford eligibility on DraftKings. I don't have any idea how that's possible, but he doesn't. If McCollum's out, Ingram certainly looks better. Joe Val's rates would tick up a little bit as well. It would also probably open the door for a 3K Josh Richardson. Like, right, if we assume McCollum's in, there's a path to Richardson being good, but the downside or the risk is that the Pels just have so many like ball handler and wing type guys that Richardson doesn't have to play a lot. Devontae Graham was barely in this rotation, and by the time he left, he wasn't in the rotation. If Richardson just picks up those minutes, he's useless. But if like McCollum's out and Richardson actually just walks in and plays like 22, 23 minutes at 3K, he's going to be useful. So if McCollum's out, Richardson becomes more appealing. $3,200 Alvarado becomes more appealing, in addition to Ingram and Joe Val looking better.
John Collins is out.
All right, so I assume Bay is probably starting, but I don't know. If we get Bay starting, I don't really care that much. If we get Johnson or Griffin starting, I think they're good value.
Yeah, and Bogdan Bogdanović expected to play. So yeah, we got that. New Orleans, really interesting spot to pay attention to. And maybe we will get some relatively early news on that. We'll see. It's an 8 o'clock game, so it's not that late. Then you've got an 8:30 and 2:10s. But fortunately, we already got most of the relevant news on those late games. So if you're good with the Pels, let's talk about the Thunder here, unless there's anything else on New Orleans.
Shit, I'm good with the Thunder too.
Okay. Is there like Jalen Williams, any SGA here at this price point?
Yeah, I mean, you're never wrong for playing SGA, but I think it's going to be really difficult to get there at 10-7 with Dort back as well. Dort at 4,800, I guess, is sort of interesting, but not really. Giddey's priced up. Jalen Williams at 3,200 does give you some sort of upside, but he is center only. And we're probably now going to have a 3K guy starting for Indiana as well. So that makes it tough. You have Jeremiah Robinson Earl back, which could get in Jalen Williams' way. Granted, Mike Muscala's gone, so probably evens out. But there's nothing that stands out to me from this team at all.
Okay. We got 3 to go here. We got Minnesota, Dallas, Washington, Golden State, Lakers, Portland. Also, 2,700 people watching, 336 likes. That means that, my God, the ratio on that, we're at 12%. We don't need to get to 100. We don't need shit. We don't even need to get to 50. But surely there are 153 of you out there who are kind with that finger, willing to hit that thumbs up and atone for your sins here on the Deeper Dive. Get us north of 500 so, we can go down after this and not be ashamed of what we've failed to accomplish on today's show. Plus, I can't go in the live before lock and let them see that. So appreciate you guys. We'll get there in advance. Zero question. My theory, you guys just forgot. We forget. It's a long night last night. Maybe had some drink, maybe smoked a little bit. You forget to hit the thumbs up. I get it. But see in chat already. I see you guys. We forget. That's all. Appreciate it. We're almost there already. Minnesota. Let's talk about the Timberwolves in this one. Another pretty underwhelming team. The only thing that I would throw out there is while these guys have been questionable a lot lately, Rudy Gobert and Kyle Anderson both have Q tags today.
Yeah, shocking. This is another one where, if you get this news late and they're out, you're going to probably need the late swap. Gobert at 6,500 looks good if he's in. If he's out, Naz Reid at 4,400 certainly looks even better. He is power forward eligible too, which is really nice. If Kyle Anderson is in at 4,800. He looks okay. We have him with a 13% chance of being optimal. If he's out, it should open up more playing time for Taurean Prince, Jaden McDaniels, Jalen Noel. All would look a bit better as well. But yeah, if everybody's in, I don't think there's a ton to love from this team. Anderson and Gobert would look okay. Obviously, if you get to Edwards, that's fine, but he doesn't look that great here.
See, this is why we take some time at the beginning of the show, because we know Adam and I have done this show long enough. We know how to pace this. Jordan probably getting a little worried behind the glass, but we're good. No, you're confident.
It's easy to pace with me because if you tell me we're short on time, I can just like say what I have to say in 30 seconds and
right over. Right. And also you could definitely go like 5 minutes on Reggie Bullock if you needed to as well.
Right. Yeah. Like if right now we were on, if we were on like the last game right now, you would be hearing a lot of fun facts about like Nas Little.
But now that Dallas has like Dinwiddie's gone, and that, the trade that occurred at the deadline, but you've got Doncic and Kyrie Irving both active, both healthy. Tim Hardaway is questionable, so we can pay attention to that. But for the most part, right, like you're looking at two very expensive players now having to coexist alongside each other. That isn't to say that Luka doesn't still, dominate as he's always done, but Spencer Dinwiddie, when you talk about taking a clear backseat role to Luka, like you looked at his usage and per minute production with and without him,
beta
I don't think Kyrie Irving's just
for Dinwiddie.
What's that?
I said beta is the word that I prefer for Dinwiddie.
Oh yeah,
yeah, not a Dinwiddie.
Okay, why? Because he would just straight defer every time.
Because he took shots at Beal in Washington when they got rid of him.
Yeah, you don't like Dinwiddie.
No, I don't like Dinwiddie.
Not a fan. I know. I remember us talking about that, but. Like Kyrie Irving's not just going to defer that much. It's going to be interesting to see what this looks like going forward after we get a decent sample on these guys playing next to each other.
Yeah, it's right now to me at this price tag, Luka is like he's not bad. He's not a bad play. He's still got a massive ceiling. You're going to get some games where Luka just goes out there and throws up 70, 80 DraftKings points. They're just going to be less frequent than they were before Kyrie got there. One other legitimate concern right now, I think, is that it's a little bit easier for Luka to play like 36 minutes instead of 39 with Kyrie there. You don't have the same drop off when Luka goes to the bench. So it wouldn't be surprising to me if he kind of lives at 36 minutes, at least until we get through the All-Star break. But he's also 7% owned. So it kind of turns into the Jokic thing where, I don't love Luka here. I don't really plan on getting to a lot of him, but it's also a pretty cool feeling to get sub 10% on Luka and just be like, oh yeah, if Luka goes for 100 points tonight, then I just basically am at the top of tournaments. So like that's always nice, but realistically, I think it's gonna be relatively difficult to get to him, relatively difficult to want to prioritize him because he is priced to be the really only guy here. And the thing you have to keep in mind too is he's not super efficient. Like a lot of his, and this isn't a knock on him as a player, but like a lot of his fantasy production is also volume based. And so if he goes from, let's say, a 38% usage rate down to 30 because Kyrie's there now instead of Dinwiddie, that's still a high usage rate, but that doesn't make him a 12K player anymore.
Right. Exactly. We'll see. I mean, the price point there, yeah, is wild, but that type of ownership against, massive pace up spot as well for the Dallas Mavericks. Corey Randall with a super chat. If something travels through the universe to Earth, I doubt we could shoot them out of the sky. Yeah, I mean, I don't unless they're just what's that?
I said I generally agree with that.
Yeah,
unless literally it was just like they didn't put any thought into it, and they're just like, oh yeah, we're just gonna be perceived as friendly, and then got lit up.
Right, yeah. Send the hot air balloon down.
They thought they were waving, and we just shot at them with planes.
Yeah. Or they're just testing our capabilities. Each wave is going to be more and more intricate, and technologically advanced.
Right.
I don't know, William. I'll get to your super chat when we get to Portland. Yeah, I'll remember. Anything else for Dallas?
No. I mean, even if Hardaway's out, it shouldn't matter either. Like Reggie Bullock started the second half in his place last game. 4,500 Reggie Bullock. If I lose to that, then oh well, it wasn't my day.
That sounds about right. All right, let's keep going here because we had news right before the show started that Kyle Kuzma was out. So let's dive into this one a little bit. And we'll start with the Washington side. They're 4-point dogs, 234 total here. What do we want to do with Bradley Beal now, and that Kuzma is out. Kristaps Porzingis, of course, this has been, the big three all year long. And when one of them is out, we generally discuss the other two. So any thoughts on this?
It makes Beal and Porzingis look better than they would if Kuzma were in, but they still don't really stand out. And a big reason is that, like, Beal himself at 7,600 looks fine. It's a good enough matchup, fast-paced Golden State team. We know Beal can go out there and score, but he's likely playing around 32 minutes. He's at a similar price point as Brandon Ingram and Jordan Poole on the other side of this game, who, obviously we'll talk about in a second. So that's two guys right there that are same position, same price, and just look better than Beal, even with Kuzma out. That's already kind of just pushing him into, like, secondary tournament territory. And then Porzingis is up to nearly 10K on DraftKings now. He's a 1.3 to 1.4 fantasy point per minute guy, should play 33, 34 minutes, but still tough to really want to get a lot of him.
Does it make you want to get a lot of anyone? Because Kuzma's no. Okay. So I was going to say Kuzma's absence has to open up considerable playing time somewhere, but is it not enough?
He's been out for a while is the thing. So, like,
that's true. Yep.
Last game you had Corey Kispert moved back into the starting lineup last game. A couple of games ago you had Avdia. Kispert's only 3,400, shooting guard, small forward. If he's not going to get any ownership and Horton Tucker is going to get 30-something%, sure, turn some of that into Kispert. But also, let's not act like they are remotely similar fantasy players. Right. Kispert's job is just to knock down threes and do literally nothing else, whereas Horton Tucker, is going to have the ball in his hands more and be more involved offensively overall. So, it's still a very risky pivot there. Same thing can be said for, like, Kendrick Nunn. At 3,100 in 22 minutes, can he beat, 24 minutes of Horton Tucker? Absolutely. But it's not like those 22 minutes are guaranteed, and it's not like it's guaranteed he's going to play well either. There's just nothing that really is going to look great. Monte Morris is 5,100. He looks a little bit better without Kuzma, but it's still pretty much a correct price tag on him. I still think it's just tough to really like anything from Washington, but if you get to a little bit of Beal, Porzingis, Morris, Gafford, like, any of that stuff's fine.
Jacob asked, did Jordan get his 300 steps in today? Jordan, yeah. Dude, that's absurd. Oh man. Yesterday he put in numbers, or maybe it was Saturday. Dude put up some numbers. I was very impressed with him. He's doing it. All right. Should we talk about the Golden State then?
Yeah, I don't have anything else from Washington.
Let's talk about the Warriors. Right now, Jordan Poole, I saw people talking about Jordan Poole in chat earlier. So without Steph Curry, you knew that Poole's price tag was of course going to elevate pretty quickly. But man, he's been excellent lately. When it comes between him and Brandon Ingram, let me ask you this: who do you like more? If you're down to like a final spot, who do you like more between these two guys?
If McCollum's in, Poole. If McCollum's out, I think it's really close.
Okay. Oh, so if McCollum's out, you'd still put it very close.
Yeah, I mean, we have 12 games now where Jordan Poole's played without Curry and with Clay. He's at 1.28 DraftKings points per minute in 35 minutes per game, 35.5% usage rate, and a 27.5% assist percentage. You're not getting, like, drastically better numbers from Brandon Ingram, even if McCollum's out.
Right. Okay. So, when you've got Poole, without Curry, you have Dre, you have Klay Thompson, whose price point. I mean, Klay's more expensive than Jordan Poole, so that makes him pretty tough to get to.
Yeah, the thing that helps Klay is that he does have small forward eligibility. So, from a roster construction standpoint, obviously that's useful. He's at 1.12 DraftKings points per minute in 36 minutes per game, 29.5% usage rate in the games he's played without Curry and with Jordan Poole this year. So I like getting there if you can. You are getting a nice ownership discount. You're getting forward eligibility. But like you said, he's more expensive not only than Poole, but then Ingram and Beal, and then obviously a lot of other guys. But the forward eligibility is nice. Wiggins and Draymond, they're both sort of just like last piece in. They're still, I mean, Draymond is, the fourth option or fifth option, depending on how you view Kevon Looney offensively. But Wiggins is, still third behind Poole and Thompson, but minutes should be there for those guys. They have forward eligibility, so they're fine. But I think that Poole's the number one here. I'd like getting to Thompson when I can, but that price tag has certainly come up.
Anything else on either side of this one?
Nope.
Let's wrap her up. By the way, appreciate 634 likes. I knew we were, just crushed it. Absolutely crushed it. Never in doubt, I tell you. never in doubt. Greg, and is it Greg and Eric next? Greg and Eric coming up next, live before lock, taking you up and through lock all the way to 7:30 with No House Advantage post lock show. So stick around for that. They're going to talk everything here. I know they're going to be going over No House Advantage, going over some props. Odd Shopper Premium, man, it looks so good. It looks so good right now. I cannot stress enough how good. I was so happy to see the new iteration of this and go, oh, dude, I got list view. I don't have to do the grid view. I got list view. You got the Prize Picks parlay builder, the No House Advantage parlay builder. You got the new parlay builder for actual props, which is outstanding. You can swap in whatever you want. You have everything you need. Everything you need. Check it out. First week is totally free anyway, so if you hate it, you can just bounce. But that link's down there in the description. Jordan can throw it in the chat. I won't go through everything because we only have a few minutes. But I ask you guys, just check it out. Even if you hate it, if you're a betting man or woman, Odd Shopper Premium, like this is the new thing. Might be the best thing that we have going on at all overall between Stokastic and Odd Shopper right now. It's fucking awesome. All right, wrap it up. LA Lakers, Portland Trailblazers, no LeBron James. So Anthony Davis now at 10,600. Of course, on DraftKings, center only eligible, but no Russell Westbrook anymore. He was shipped off at the deadline. No LeBron James today. Of course, yes, you do have D'Angelo Russell, surely, but what are we doing with them now with Davis and Russell with no LeBron today?
I mean, Davis obviously looks better with LeBron out. 8 total games without him this year, 1.73 DraftKings points per minute, 1.64 overall without LeBron or Westbrook on the floor. Like you said, you do have D'Angelo Russell. Not that he is the same issue for fantasy production that Westbrook is, but he's not a zero. Overall, without LeBron on the floor, also 1.64 DraftKings points per minute for Davis. So it is interesting because you have a good matchup and you have him at a cheaper price tag than Embiid, clearly a cheaper price tag than Jokic. I really like getting Anthony Davis here. I'm curious to see where ownership on him ends up. Right now, we have him at 14%. I think that's completely reasonable. And some of that, and what would have been Embiid probably does come to him. D'Angelo Russell at 7,300 is playable now. I don't think he was playable before if LeBron was in. He's still not a great option, but he is somebody that's likely to go out there and play mid-30s. We know he can get hot from 3. We know he can be a good, north of 1 fantasy point per minute guy. So at low ownership, a decent tournament play. LeBron's absence also makes guys like $4,200 Jared Vanderbilt, $5K Rui, $5,500 Schroeder look playable. They're still risky. They're still not safe. Vanderbilt only played 17 minutes in his against Golden State the other day. But the nice thing about his rotation was that it's not like he just straight up backed up Anthony Davis. They did play minutes alongside each other. So you could conceivably get a rotation today where, maybe instead of 31 minutes, Rui plays 28, and instead of 16 or 17, Vanderbilt plays 20. Like stuff like that, where it's not even a massive change, really could make a $4,200 Vanderbilt look a lot better from a fantasy standpoint. So LeBron being out just sort of makes all of these guys look at least somewhat playable, but still not like priorities. Davis, the closest thing to a priority, obviously.
All right, let's put a bow on this one. Stick around too. Stokastic Hall of Fame coming up next. That takes a couple minutes. We shout out and induct everybody into the Hall of Fame. We give out a bunch of free months of Stokastic Plus, but I think we're giving 12 out on this one. And then live before lock. I told you I wouldn't forget about that super chat from Corey. From William. When you get to Portland, can you discuss the sharp minutes increase and production? Also, thanks for all you guys do, giving us the game every day. Yeah, thanks, man. All right, so let's just start it off there with Sharp asking about the minutes increase that he saw. I assume talking 29 minutes last game. Adam, do you have anything that you want to get into here with him, or to at least answer the question?
He did play more last game. He had a weird rotation still, though. In the first half, he played 10 and a half minutes, which is pretty normal for him. In the second half, he played his normal rotation and then immediately subbed back in. Like he subbed out at the 8:45 mark of the fourth quarter. Normally would just be done. Subbed back in at 8:37. I'm not sure. So it was fouls on Nas Little. Nas Little picked up his 4th foul, it looks like. Some number of fouls. Little picked up a foul, went to the bench, and it looks like Sharp came back in. I think that's what it was. I'm not reading into it too much. Like I think you're probably getting low to mid 20s in minutes from Sharp. But no Jeremy Grant this game. So there are more minutes available. My guess is that you get Nas Little starting there. So that does, secure minutes for Shaedon Sharp just as the result of being shorthanded on the bench. You're probably going to get more run from Cam Reddish with Grant out as well. He is 3K flat. We know he's not very good, but 3K shooting guard, small forward on a slate where Talen Horton-Tucker is getting 8 times the ownership. I don't hate that. Or 6 times the ownership. I don't hate that. Just kind of hoping to get lucky there against the Lakers. Simons is going to look a little bit better at 6,800 with no Grant, just less secondary usage to compete with. We know Lillard's got a massive ceiling in this spot. Eubanks is another cheap center that is in a pretty good spot, pulling 10% ownership. There's a lot to like here from Portland.
Yeah, and this game currently sitting with a 238 total.
Yeah, we do have Kevin Knox and Matisse Thybulle available here, so those are guys that could also, sort of mess up this rotation.
Who's your favorite play from Portland? Is it Anthony Simons or is it Lillard?
I think it's Simons just because of the price. Lillard certainly looks good. It's just that you have a lot of other guys in that price range as well. We haven't talked about that many, especially non-centers in this 6 to 7K price range that really look good. But Simon's in a really good spot, likely to play a ton of minutes. It is likely to get a little bit of a bump in terms of production as well. Simons is my favorite guy from the Blazers.
All right. Well, hey, couple things. One, you guys are the greatest. North of 700 likes. Appreciate you coming off a brutal day for me. Thanks for showing some love, right? Also, live before lock coming up right now. You just got Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray ruled out, so they're going to have a lot to talk about. Don't go anywhere. You're going to need it. Follow Adam at Ship My Money DFS, me at Lofty_D. You can scroll back and see my mega tilt yesterday. It got ugly. And then, of course, Jordan Klein. Shout out to Jordan Klein behind the virtual glass. The man putting in work while sitting down. We'll see you back here tomorrow for the deeper dive. Peace. Yo, it's that time of week again. We're inducting you fine people into the Stokastic Hall of Fame, giving out some Stokastic Plus Platinum memberships in the process, and all you got to do to get involved, download the Stokastic profile picture at stokastic.com/avatar. Tweet your wins at Stokastic HOF on Twitter. It's Stokastic Hall of Fame. Get a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. Get inducted into the Hall of Fame. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, and you're in. Just like our pal Rajal, who said lineup generator plus boom bust tool plus lineup builder, all of those tools over at Stokastic, by the way, equals money. Got a $10,000 win, saw the other Stokastic in first place for $100K, and a $50,000 win on the Tuesday NBA shot, the Thursday NBA clutch shot. Monster wins there from Rajal. Love that the tools are working for you. And again, the lineup generator does it again, almost took it down. Glad one of our guys won at least. This team rocks. Yeah, nice showing for Stokastic in the Thursday NBA clutch shot. And then Rick, thanks for all the tools. Second place in a contest of about 6,000. That gets you the free month, brother. Rick with the $4,000 win there in the 50K chain mover. And then how about David Burton? What's up, man? Let's go. Took down the $12 single entry on DK. We're back in the game. Little $2,000 win there for David Burton. And in a 15K Monday NHL breakaway, grade A picks. Been on a nice little heater on Prize Picks and FanDuel. Props to the NHL Stokastic staff. Arden from Yonkers. Congrats, man. $4,000 right there going to Arden. And then Joe Herm with the $10,000 win. Woke up to this. Let's go. At Stokastic Hall of Fame. Huge win. Congrats, Joe. How about Chris? $1,000 first place in the 10K Minimax. Not easy to win that. And then Timmy, I'm not going to pronounce that last name, but finally get that free month, $500 second place in the sharpshooter. Congrats, Timmy. Great stuff. And Avi, thanks, gang, for the advice and support. Couldn't do it without you. Almost 2K there in the big game ball. Followed up by Dave Oliver. 1,500 here. Little hockey action. Thank you guys for your great NHL content. The best. Check out my NHL lineup on FanDuel. Can you build a better team? And mind you, with the NBA All-Star break coming up, we got NHL tools and NHL strategy shows every day of the week. So stick around for that, even when NBA is not there. All right, Brendan from Buffalo, too. And another one, little Prize Picks. He's been crushing on Prize Picks. $10 in the 250 right there in a 6-picks flex play. And Bambo, $400. What is that? First place out of 25,000 there. Took down the fadeaway last night on FanDuel. How about a free month? a little aggressive, but yes, you will get it. We're men of our word. And the Ultimate Fight Show, awesome, great, awesome parlay hit for the Ultimate Fight Show. Want to thank the folks at Stokastic, 240 into over 3,000. Congrats to all of you. Remember, stokastic.com/avatar. Use that avatar wherever it is you play. Tweet your wins at Stokastic Hall of Fame. Get inducted into the Hall of Fame right here and win a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum.
Oh, think about that.
How's your drink?
It's delicious. Peanut butter.
What is happening, everybody? Welcome to another Stokastic NBA Live Before Lock show, and it's going to be a big one. I'm excited. I'm back at my house a week away from my own office, my own area, and now I'm back in it, and I'm joined here by Eric to break down what is actually a pretty fun NBA slate. 11 games, whole bunch of news items. Some of them have already dropped, like Jamal Murray just getting ruled out. As you guys come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you guys were just watching also, we had the Hall of Fame segment playing. If you guys want to be in the Hall of Fame, pretty easy. All you have to do is download the Stokastic avatar, make it your avatar on your DraftKings, FanDuel, or whatever DFS site you play on. And if you finish at the top of a GPP, add us at Stokastic_HOF on Twitter, because we don't just magically know when you guys win. We got to know from you guys. So tell us when you win. You're going to get 1 free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum, help you build up your bankroll even more. Good way to get in the door. Also gets you access to all the tools we have and our Discord channel. If you guys are in Discord right now, add us during the course of the show so we can answer your questions. Eric, how's your day going?
Doing good. NFL in the rear view, kind of weird. I had to fight some impulses just for fun because people were posting about best ball. They posted the way too early best ball deal. I was like, I can't possibly dabble in this. It's nice to just kind of have NBA, a little bit of PGA in my life, but that's it until MLB starts up. So I'm a happy camper. The football game was actually really enjoyable to watch yesterday. We haven't had a lot of great primetime NFL games for the last, I don't know, it feels like 2 months for sure. So that was enjoyable, but lots of news, 11 games, lots of bets, lots of lineups in play, playing the queue, lots of things that can go my way today or could not, either way.
And as we are just getting started here, Tim Hardaway Jr. has been ruled out.
Alrighty.
It's almost secondary to the things we have to deal about. First and foremost, we've got a super chat here. And I know that Jordan was, you guys wouldn't believe this, but Jordan was like, hey, we got the super chat, but
no, I'm not going to,
vehemently didn't want me to answer it. But I was like, Jordan, just send Joseph Mata. We need to answer a super chat. So we're finally going to get to this super chat here because Joseph Mata wants to know, boys, I need a little help. Mathurin or Cam Johnson?
It's an interesting duo. Mathurin for me.
Let me see. So Mathurin is somebody who is benefiting quite a bit right now because the injuries going on with the Pacers. So Miles Turner is going to be out today. That's going to lend itself to playing some more smaller lineups. And Cam Johnson for me is a little bit of a tough one because he played less than 30 minutes in his Nets debut. They have so many forwards that it's kind of hard for me to project him for a massive amount of minutes. I'm sure his role is going to be bigger with the Nets than it was with the Suns in terms of usage, but Mathurin really in a prime position today. So I'm going to go with Mathurin there. And what's got you cracking up already?
Chuck Deuces, neither. You suck. Easy, Chuck Deuces. Like, I think Mathurin's a fine play. He's coming in with a lot of ownership. He's fine. I do think the Pacers starting lineup is going to be a key piece of news here in the next 49 minutes to be paying attention to. Going to definitely shape our lineups. We already have some pretty good value, I think, or at least some value with high upside opportunity being THT Max Strus, but they're pulling a ton of ownership. Very curious. I hope that lineup comes out very, very late in the show with enough time that we can react to it.
I assume it's Isaiah Jackson starting at center.
I do too. And that's the thing is I don't want people to have him projected in their lineups. I want to get that with 5 minutes left to go.
And I mean, right off the bat, this is going to be a really heavy news show. Everybody, I have a really, really strong feeling about that. We're sponsored by No House Advantage today. I want to make sure we shout out them right now. And a pretty good chance there's going to be overlay over at No House Advantage. You guys haven't signed up, use the link below. And when you sign up, you're going to get up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit. And there are props you can play against the house that Eric and I are going to be covering in our post-lock show here. But we also have to discuss what's going on with the Denver Nuggets. I think that's going to be the first and foremost news we hit on. Then we'll talk about the impact of Tim Hardaway Jr. But starting with the news we just got out of Denver, we've got no Jamal Murray tonight and no Aaron Gordon. What does this mean for Denver other than just all of the Jokic?
All of Jokic. That's what it means. It was plus 175 last night, moved to plus 155. It's now plus 135. We'll see if it moves again. But that man is triple doubling. He's averaging a triple double. I understand that it's a difficult Miami Heat matchup, fourth in adjusted defensive rating for the season. They play very, very slow. 96.6 possessions per 48 minutes. That is 28th in the NBA. Don't really give a shit. There's no Jamal Murray. There's no Aaron Gordon. It all goes through Jokic. Now, the other pieces are difficult to figure out for me because Bruce Brown, we've seen that price elevate, and he's been a far less appealing option just because of how much Jokic is creating and doing everything for this basketball team. He's 5,300. I'm playing DraftKings only. And Michael Porter Jr. 6,400. I'm not all that enthused. We did see Kankar. He got the start last time out, 24 minutes, and now his price is up to 3,700. I don't really think there's a whole lot else that I'm going to be getting to on this type of slate, an 11-gamer with much better value. But Jokic for sure, he elevated up my board. He's at 3%. I am way north of that at the moment.
Yeah, and I'm sure he's going to end up picking up more ownership. Yes. And is he going to be your highest projected player on the slate now, though?
Yeah, he definitely is now. So I guess this is probably the very, very interesting question for this slate, because on previous 11 gamers, what did we do? We would get value and we would just jam Luka Doncic. We would jam Nikola Jokic. I don't feel great about Kyrie Irving on the floor with Luka Doncic. I feel good from them winning basketball games perspective, but Luka at 12-1, he's pulling more ownership. And as you said, Jokic is going to be the guy up there as well. But he's right now, I have him projected by seven fantasy points higher for Jokic than I do Doncic, because I am very pessimistic going forward for what this is going to do. Luka Doncic sharing the floor with Kyrie. Have you thought about this in terms of like MVP betting as well? Because I think there might be value going elsewhere off of him now.
Well, I mean, already just the way that the odds were going, it's been Jokic as a pretty prohibitive favorite for a while. Good. So actually, Luka's odds recently went from like 12-1 to 10-1. But like it's kind of been Jokic on an island by himself, then Embiid, and then Giannis and Luka together behind them.
As it should be. And again, I don't bet futures. That is absolutely your market. I've tailed you on some. Like the Suns could not be a whole lot better. I went down to Arizona and was able to kind of do some of that my own. It felt very nice. Felt strong to be able to be in Arizona, back the Suns, good stuff. But that was just 100% you. But I know you're always watching those markets and as good as it gets in terms of taking opportunity there. But yeah, Jokic is by far going to be my highest spend up now. And then I don't know. I feel like Joel Embiid maybe comes in a little bit higher owned than what we think he is. And maybe that gets me away. But like, I get how good center is. But like when you have a 7 fantasy point gap between Jokic and the rest of the field, that has to be prioritized. And I'll kind of rotate through that center position between Mark Williams, Kessler, a number of these other guys that are just projecting out really, really well, that are all pulling ownership. Mark Williams kind of by a landslide at the moment. But I very, very much prioritize Jokic.
Yeah, and that is one thing too, because I haven't rerun lineups since the Denver news came out. And the one thing that I think could end up hurting Jokic when I rerun lineups is just the position. Because if you could only roster one center between Jokic or Mark Williams, you had to prioritize one. I still think it might be Mark Williams for me. I'll have to rerun lineups and see where things look, but I think I'm going to end up with more Williams ownership than Jokic. Do you think it's going to be Jokic over Mark Williams as a priority for you now, though?
Yes. Well, no. It depends, because we have to see and get the confirmation that Jackson is starting. And if we do, we're talking about a piece of just $3,100 value that's at a center position that vaults up the board and allows me to kind of jam in a little bit more Jokic. But I have a feeling that between the three, Mark Williams, Isaiah Jackson, and Jokic, there'll be three pieces that are in almost all of my lineups, just rotating between the three.
Now, the other piece of news we just got, which is not nearly as significant, but we're talking about the usage for Luka and him playing alongside Kyrie, but we no longer have Tim Hardaway Jr. playing tonight. Is that going to change anything for you? Does this open up any kind of value from Dallas?
Not really. I mean, you have two expensive, high usage, high fantasy point per minute guys there. Christian Wood's playing a very ancillary role. I don't think that changes. Christian Wood sees any kind of a boost to his role, because in the current iteration as a team, like it's just going to be Doncic and Kyrie doing everything. Josh Green is 4,900 and maybe sees a couple more minutes and maybe is more viable. But at 4,900, do we really want to be doing that? I don't think so. Probably not going to be getting to anything else except for a little bit of the two studs.
I think Josh Green will enter my player pool now. Okay. He's also been playing just a ton as of late, and he seems like somebody who's able to coexist alongside Luka and Kyrie. Because, I mean, just listen to some of these numbers as of late for Green. And I know they've had overtime games lately as well, but still, 40 minutes last game, 38 the game before, 40 the game before that, 37 the game before that. And in those games, 41, 27, 32, and 34 fantasy points. We're taking Tim Hardaway off the court now. And just because we've seen this team appear so comfortable to give Josh Green big minutes, which we were seeing earlier in the year too. Remember, even when Dinwiddie was struggling from a fantasy standpoint, how many minutes was Jason Kidd giving him? And I think Josh Green can kind of soak up those same kind of minutes. I think that makes him somebody who's at least worth playing now, whereas I wouldn't have rostered him at all before the Hardaway news.
Totally. Doesn't have to, I mean, he's a decent enough rebounder, nothing special. I mean, as you said, you highlighted it. It's a minutes thing. Minnesota's a great matchup, over a 230 total, not the norm for Dallas. I'm pretty okay getting to a little bit of that. I'm going to rerun some stuff there, but yeah, this Christian Wood thing is very, very strange to me, seeing him play no minutes whatsoever. I mean, Jason Kidd just kind of has his dudes, and yeah, Reggie Bullock's 4,500. Good Lord of Almighty, because he's been playing major minutes as well. Probably more inclined to go Josh Green's way than Reggie Bullock by a landslide. Actually, just neither of them great fantasy point per minutes. But what is it? 0.7 for Josh Green, 0.53 for Bullock. Good Lord.
Yeah, and then the other thing too, when we talk about Reggie Bullock and Josh Green, you mentioned Christian Wood. Christian Wood's kind of fallen by the wayside, and even earlier in the year, they weren't playing him all that much. And we saw Christian Wood miss a bunch of time due to injury, and I thought he was going to play a pretty big role when he first came back. It didn't end up being the case. The other thing too, though, is that I think he might just be a poor fit alongside Luka and Kyrie, because he's such a poor defensive big man. Mm-hmm. Like we even saw the other day, like JaVale McGee checked into the game before him. And I think that's something to really keep an eye out on, is Jason Kidd just not comfortable playing Christian Wood alongside Kyrie and Luka? If that's the case, I mean, there's just no path to Christian Wood being DFS viable.
Nope, zero. Until he's 3K.
Yeah, which probably not happening.
Yeah, no.
Probably not happening.
Because eventually there's going to be a game where Luka or Kyrie both miss, and then you're just going to want to play Wood, because they'll just be like, all right, you can have the ball for 30 minutes, have fun. And then he'll be 80% owned. That'll be a fun slate. Predicting the future.
Let's start hitting on some of these super chats, and then also still a lot of injury news to come, which is going to be popping up and answering or creating additional value as we go. But the super chats we have here, this one is from Ace of Spade. What are your best picks for each DK tiers? Well, I'm off to a firing start here. Let me pull up the DK tiers and run some lineups for that, and then I will get back to you, Ace of Spade. The next question is from Corey Shea. You guys not worried about Bam defense? So what I'm most worried about when it comes to Jokic is the position he plays and the amount of value at the position. Like Jokic is so good as a DFS player that I think it's a mistake to write him off because of the matchup he has. Just if Isaiah Jackson starts and also Mark Williams being a presumed really good option who are all going to like getting to a whole bunch, it might just limit the amount of lineup spots I'm going to have for Jokic, but it's not Bam that I'm concerned about.
I'm not concerned in the slightest. Again, I understand why the odds were what they were. I understand why the projection was lower, but that was with Murray and Aaron Gordon in. This is just an absolute Jokic fest. It's going to be a ton of him. I haven't projected north of 63 fantasy points. Like he's the guy to get to today.
Yeah. And then once again, it's just going to be position. Like, have you started rerunning lineups yet?
No, not yet. Cause I kind of want to, I'm waiting to make the switch on Indiana. Because if I play it with Isaiah Jackson, my lineups are just going to look drastically different, but there's an opportunity that they just do something weird and random. They've done that how many times where it ends up being like Jalen Smith at the 5, or, you see O'Shea Brissett in there. Like, I don't know entirely yet. But yeah, I'm just going to kind of wait for that news and then I'll rerun everything.
All right. I've got these lineups running right now for Ace of Spade as far as the DK tiers go. And I think I've seen enough to be able to answer his question. So tier 1, the options are Lillard, Embiid, and Jokic. And that is Jokic. So Jokic tier 1. Tier 2 is going to be Anthony Davis with the absence of LeBron James. Tier 3. So tier 3 for me right now is Trae Young, but we have Joel Embiid listed as questionable. If he does not play, the answer is James Harden. Now, I know a lot of these recent slates, Eric, you and I have looked at the injury report for the Sixers and said, oh, cool, Joel Embiid is questionable. That is bullshit. Is it less bullshit today? Is there a chance he actually sits with a home game against the Rockets where they're such big favors that it would make sense to give him the rest?
Well, I thought if the Eagles won and Philadelphia turned into the Last of Us, then I'm pretty sure we could have saw Joel Embiid because he could have gotten bit and then just turned into a fungus monster thing and then not play basketball today. But because that didn't happen, I'm pretty sure we'll be okay. I think he's playing basketball.
All right. So Eric has gone out and said that Joel Embiid is not a fungus monster. That is the reason he thinks he's going to play. I think he's live to sit today. I can't say with 100% confidence because he plays through this questionable tag every single time. But I mean, if you are going to give somebody a questionable tag every single game for a month, don't you have to have intention of sitting him at some point? And if you were going to sit him, wouldn't this be the spot? I think he's live to sit today. I'm keeping
Glenn Rivers. Also, I bet Houston plus 14.5, so I'd be okay with it.
Same here.
You did bet 14.5? Go you.
It was in my NBA bidding video earlier today.
Big number last night. I was like, oh my. And now it's to 13.5. We seem smart.
Tier 4, I like Tyrese Halliburton the best, particularly with no Miles Turner there. Tier 5, Donovan Mitchell, I think, is the best option. And then tier 6 is Brandon Ingram as of now. And then we've also got CJ McCollum questionable in the injury report. If he's ruled out, it would even be a firmer Brandon Ingram. So Ace of Spade, I hope that helps you out. That's my answer for each tier that we have there. The next super chat. People want to know what you're drinking, by the way.
Yeah, I just let them know. Robex smoothie. It's this peanut butter protein thingy.
Look at you.
Mm-hmm.
Look at you.
Mm-hmm. Nothing like drinking all weekend for the Super Bowl and whatever else, and then just pretending as though you're healthy for a day.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, for sure, eating the peanut butter. Like, how many calories are in it?
Like 680 or something. So you can get the one without certain pieces. Like there's no chocolate. There's none of like the ridiculous stuff. It's just basically double protein.
Gotcha.
So I guess it'd be more than that. It'd be probably 800 something calories.
Yeah, just trying to get stronger. I get it. Michael McKinney, double protein. Michael McKinney, 5 must plays for FanDuel Cash. Well, I'll tell you, FanDuel Cash center, I think is going to be super tricky, but let me look at what we've got going on.
Yeah, I'm not playing FanDuel today, and part of it is that it's an 11-game slate with a ton of news, and I didn't want to be trying to go back and forth. Plus, there's like a great queue. There's a $4. The second iteration of the $4 has a really good payout structure, so I'm playing that, and so I'm focused DK. But FanDuel today, oh my god, I find it to be very difficult because you have so much news. And center, I want to play a lot of dudes. Mark Williams is alone there. Nikola Jokic. The fact that you can only play one over there really, really sucks.
Yeah, so I'm not even going to say a must play for center. I think you almost fill it out last and see where the chips fall. with the other positions. Just see what your kind of salary is left there. So some of the other players, I would consider Damian Lillard my favorite overall pay up for FanDuel cash, projected for just north of 30% ownership. He's only 10,400, so quite a bit cheaper on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. So we'll have him as a piece. Max Strus, Taylor Horton-Tucker, Anthony Simons, and Benedict Mathurin, all other players I think you should be playing in cash. They're all really cheap, but they're also really popular and really good points per dollar plays. So to recap, Damian Lillard as your pay up option, and then 4 really good value options: Max Strus, Taylor Horton-Tucker, Anthony Simons, who I know not maybe like 4,000 type value play, but 6,200 is a pretty appealing option against the Lakers. And then Mathurin in the absence of Miles Turner at $4,400. One thing you and I were briefly talking about before we started, though, and I still think for cash games, he's still popular. Just play Taylor Horton-Tucker. But what do you make of his minutes today? Because they've been really significant in the last couple of games, but in each of them, he has benefited from foul trouble of starters.
It's tough. I'd say maybe he's just going to play 25 no matter what. We haven't projected right around 24. So for me, it's not even that there's the upside to get maybe 3 or 4 minutes extra there. Like there's a downside there, but like when you're sub 4K, it's not like we're playing a $5,500 Taylor Horton-Tucker trying to figure out his minutes. Like this is still a sub 4K piece. And he goes out, and when he does see the floor, even if he only plays 20 minutes, he's a fantasy point per minute guy who I think could still get you over a fantasy point per minute in this spot. Pacers, it's a 242 total. It's really hard to say that at sub 4K, he's not a good play no matter what. It's just a question of what that ownership ends up being. If he ends up being 50% owned, 45% owned, and like everything, like the major $4 and the Q, the $60 Q, whatever it is, you're going to probably be kicking yourself if you are over the field on that. But at 33.5% where we currently have him, and I do think there's going to be more value that opens up, and you can turn it into something else there. The Pacers on the other side of this one, I think we'll be getting to pieces of. I think he's a very, very serviceable play. Would be very difficult for me to imagine a scenario where you would be projecting him for less than we have right now at 26, and that makes him a great play.
Yeah, particularly for cash games. Tournaments, I think he's going to be one of those guys that just more or less kind of align myself with the field on.
Yep.
And be like, I don't have a great feel for his minutes. I could see the downside. I could see the upside. The field's going to play him at 33%, which was our ownership projection before. Let me refresh to see what it is now. Actually,
Darko Novic, Cam Johnson, good play if low owned, bad play if high owned. Yeah, that you just described every DFS play in one sentence. Well done.
I mean, not exactly, but
to a certain extent, you know what I mean. It's like everything's a good play relative to ownership.
Jordan, would you mind pulling up the ownership projections right now? We'll just go through at DraftKings FanDuel. There's just an ownership update, and kind of want to show the people what we're looking at right now in terms of the latest ownership, considering some of the recent news we had. And we don't have that much ownership going to Jokic right now, Eric. 12% on DraftKings.
I am so here for it.
Oh. The top most roster players on DraftKings, and we only have 3 guys that are like significantly owned right now. Max Strus is 47% owned. Mark Williams 38. Taylor Horton-Tucker at 29. Not a single other player is above 23. You know, that happens. 11-game slate. There's a lot of injuries. It's pretty flat. We've got these 3 guys that are predominantly popular on DraftKings, and we just touched on Taylor Horton-Tucker. But what do you make of Mark Williams at 38% owned, Max Strus at 47%? Relative to their ownerships, do you think these are players that are warranting that amount of attention in large field tournaments?
Yeah, Max Strus has the highest optimal percentage in the boom bust tool today. There's a little bit of negative leverage, but if you're looking for one player that it's pretty difficult to imagine a scenario where you shouldn't have a pretty adequate amount of exposure to them, it's Max Strus. He's sub 4K for whatever reason. It doesn't quite make sense to me. You have no Oladipo, no Kyle Lowry. Gabe Vincent is starting there as well, 4,500. I have interest in him. You want to talk about guys playing tons of minutes. That dude is playing a bajillion minutes here of late. But as well, Max Strus, now that he's back and firing there below 4K, we were just kind of waiting for some of these prices to come down. And this one's just like an overcorrection. So I'm going to Max Strus. Mark Williams, just because there are so many good center plays, that's kind of where I'm having a tough time. He's a really good fantasy point per minute player, 1.2. I saw Adam get in a kerfuffle on Twitter. Imagine that. What a wild outcome that is. But there's no doubt that he's a good play. It's just there are going to be so many good plays. And one of them could be $900 cheaper in Isaiah Jackson, who I would just want to get to way more of if people don't get enough time for it. And with each minute that goes by, that ownership is not going to get where it needs to go for Isaiah Jackson. So I'm kind of preloading him now. I said I wasn't going to run anything until we got that news. We don't have it yet. I'm kind of ecstatic. So I'm just going to keep jamming that. And if I need to make some kind of a quick swap at the end of this, I will. But like, that is now my priority at center.
The last time Miles Turner was out, we saw Isaiah Jackson start at center. He played 26 minutes, scored 31 fantasy points. The time before that, he played 28 minutes. He scored 38 fantasy points. Start before that, 32 minutes, 44 fantasy points. 2 starts before that, only 18 and 22 minutes. But
put $1 and got a car, put $1 and got a car, put $1 and got a car, put $1 and got a car.
Exactly. I mean, either way, pretty big minutes his last handful of starts. And I assume he starts. I guess one other thing, and you kind of touched on it right there, but we're 28 minutes to go into lock. Mark Williams is going to be really popular, but what are you going to do with him if we do get to, say 5 minutes before lock and we don't have the Pacers starting lineup?
Hang on 1 second. Did we just get a weird starting lineup here for Houston? Sorry.
By the way, Joel Embiid is going to be playing today. I thought there was a chance he was going to sit. Apparently not a chance he's going to sit.
Jayshawn Tate's starting again. Okay, I didn't see that he started on the 10th. That was his first start since October 30th, so that's cool. He started that last one. He's in the starting lineup again today. I was just kind of a little confused at seeing that name on the piece of paper. There we go.
Yeah, so reading off the minutes that we got from that last game. We'll pull it up right here.
Yeah, I'm
going up against the 76ers, especially with Joel Embiid playing, have to think there's some blowout risk afoot. But last game, Jayshawn Tate started, he played 24 minutes, put up a whopping 11 fantasy points. The minutes for that team that game. Here we go. All right. Jabari Smith played 34 minutes. KJ Martin started and played 38. He's starting again today. Şengün played 31. Jalen Green played 32. Jayshawn Tate played 24. So Giannis listed probable for tomorrow. Don't give me tomorrow's news. Based on those minutes that we got from Miami, from Houston last game, particularly KJ Martin, 38 minutes, and him starting again alongside Jayshawn Tate, is there anything you want to do with this starting lineup for Houston?
Not really. I just didn't know Tate was starting.
Okay.
I had no idea. That was a piece. Again, Houston wasn't high on my radar in terms of guys that I wanted to back for today. With Jalen Green back, it's made Alperen Şengün less appealing at times. I think for me, this is more just a matchup specific and price specific and a lot of things specific, but I kind of missed that piece of news. So when I saw Jayshawn Tate starting there, it was something I at least wanted to visit. Nobody's going to play him. He's 3,500 starting. I think you should maybe have a little bit. Point guard, small forward eligibility. What a time to be alive.
Yeah. No, I think what is his what is the price point on him? We said 3,500. I do think he's worth getting to. Yeah, I know he sucked. I know he sucked last game, but it is a really cheap price point. Like you said, really easy to fit him into a bunch of different lineups on DraftKings just because of the position eligibility.
Yeah, cool.
The by the way, Saddiq Bey starting for John Collins.
I had a feeling. It was. I talked about it on the video last night. I was like, I just get this weird feeling in my bad knee, as our friend Gundacker would say. It's in my bad knee, where Saddiq Bey was probably going to start for Atlanta first game. Here we go. That's awfully fun. He's 5,700. We don't have to play him for DFS, so that's good.
Young, Murray, Hunter, Bey, Capella. Does this impact anybody else on the team, though?
Yeah, a little bit of DeAndre Hunter, where, like, I don't know. I don't think it's going to rip anything away from Trae Young. I got to think that he'll still be all right in that regard. I'm going to be playing him, but Saddiq Bey does like to shoot at times, but new team, new situation. I doubt he's locked into his double-digit attempts. In Detroit, you could just see that usage start to trail up because there's nobody else out there. He came off the bench at times, then he started later on in the season there as they were trying to get him equipped to go get traded somewhere. Atlanta was a weird destination. There's no doubt about it, but Saddiq Bey, 5,700, again, just disregard it.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I'm going to put him in. I don't think I'm going to end up getting to him, though. Any more super chats that we got here? Here we go. This is from RaceFan22. He's $6,700 on DK for his utility spot. Who do we project the best that could fit into the 6,700 spot in the utility? All right, let's see. 6,700 to play with. That is Jordan Clarkson for me. How about yourself?
I will let you know in a second here.
6,700 and it's utility, so it could be any position.
Let's go. Oh yeah, definitely Clarkson. It's him or just play Jordan Clarkson.
Is there other super chats here, or did we get to them? Teddy Wayman. Thoughts on Lauri Markkanen and FanDuel cash? Yep, play him in cash. Yeah, I wouldn't. He wasn't in my list of must plays before for Michael McKinney's super chat, but he's like, what is it, the 4th most popular play on the slate? He's good points per dollar. He's a little bit priced down now. Yeah, Lauri Markkanen, very strong play for FanDuel cash.
Yes. God, I'm so excited about Isaiah Jackson. I can't tell you how low owned he's going to be if we don't get that news ahead of time. And I have him currently projected for 33 fantasy points.
Well, we're going. It's
assuming he starts.
It's the first game of the slate. We're gonna know.
Oh, I know, but I'm saying that, Greg, that isn't the question. I'm saying that, like, legitimately,
saying if we don't know before lock.
Correct. Nobody's gonna play him, and we're gonna have all of it, and we're gonna win all of the money and all of the land today. I'm so giddy for it. Josh Giddey, also fun play, but either way.
And but I was just saying we're gonna know before lock whether it's starting or not.
I know we are, but I'm hoping that it comes out 5 minutes before lock where nobody adjusts to it, and that's what I'm going for.
Fair enough. Some more super chats to get to here. This one is from Slink. Oh, there we go. And he's not starting. You know what's funny?
I told you, these bastards. These bastards.
All right. It's
why I didn't want to fix it.
It's hard to be all that interested in him now, though.
Oh, I can't do it. I knew it. I said they've done some stupid shit. They went with the guy I didn't even name. That I didn't even list off, Daniel Tice.
Do you have any interest in playing DT here, Daniel Tice?
No.
What are his I have not. When's the last time you've even contemplated the
some would say it was
Daniel
the best
Tice?
Of Tice, it was the worst of Tice, but this is just the worst of Tice.
I don't think there is a best of Tice.
Nope, it's only the worst.
He has played this year 14 minutes per. He's only played 5 games all year. 14 minutes, 11 fantasy points. Eric takes a sip of his drinky. What did he do last year? Tice, 21 minutes per game.
I should get a little baby sippy cup. That'd be pretty great. Just like
Tice is not a great points per fantasy producer for a big man either. What is his? He has to be min price though, right?
Jackson's still a lock. No, no, he's definitely min price. It's just, do we want to play Daniel Tice on this slate with however many good centers we have? No, I'm not going to play Daniel Tice. No. I wouldn't be.
I might go from 0% to like 3 or something though. Not anything significant.
I would rather. Here's the guy that from Indy. Because I can't play Isaiah Jackson not starting at the center position. He's the guy you wanted because then you just have the nuts. Fuck Indiana. Why would you do this? Yeah, I mean, this is just a stone cold disaster.
You know, this is going to benefit now also is Mark Williams. It's even harder to get away from Mark Williams now, right? Like, I think we just got to play him.
I hate today. That was the one thing I was like so excited for, and now whatever. Playing chalk Mark Williams. Yay, what a fun slate. Woo. This is enjoyable.
$4,000. He's playing like 30 minutes as the starting center.
I'm very aware. I know.
It's whatever.
So maybe we're getting saved from ourselves. Like, I don't know. All right. Chalk Donkey Lindquist is back. Here we are.
Fuck yeah, in his natural habitat. Slink the second.
Loser.
Jokic and Draymond or Anthony Davis and Jimmy Butler. Jokic and Draymond. Loser. That is Anthony Davis and Jimmy Butler.
Anthony Davis and Jimmy Butler. I'm such a loser.
Yeah. Look, you've come around to it at least. Yeah. The next super chat, Mr. Cool Cam 97, top 5 FanDuel GPP plays. Jokic is one of them for me. I mean, Jokic is not picking up any ownership on FanDuel.
I'm so here for it. Just let him. I'm flabbergasted that he's only 12% on DK even.
Yeah, I mean, I a lot of that on DK is just going to be because of the lack of the center spots to play and the amount of center value we had. But I mean, the other thing too is, FanDuel, if he's actually going to end up being like 8% owned, what was that number we had on Jokic? It was super low.
I have 65% of him right now. That's too much. Again, I'm going to go way, way down from that. I am playing 150 today, so that's not the kind of stand I want to be making today at center, but I don't even know.
Best GPP plays on FanDuel. So we're going to agree. Jokic is one of them, especially.
Yes, no doubt about it.
Who else would we say on FanDuel? Damian Lillard's still a really strong pay-up option for me. I know he's popular, but I think it's warranted today. He has the highest boom score for us of any player on the FanDuel slate, so I like him. As far as cheap guys go, Max Strus is another value option who I do like, who's also going to be somewhat popular. So those are three for me. Jimmy. Yeah, what's up?
Cole Anthony ruled out. Hi, Jalen Suggs.
Let's finish up this this super chat. So
FanDuel, Jalen Suggs.
What is his price point?
4,500. No ownership. 5.8% optimal percentage in the boom bust tool. Jalen Suggs, hello.
And then do you have one other GPP play for our...
Let's go with somebody a little bit trucker, because again, that's off the board. That just happened, and I'm going to update for some of that. For GPPs, low-owned piece, how about Trendon Watford? I'm not sure what to make of what Portland's going to do without Jeremy Grant, but they do have Kevin Knox that's now there. Nasir Little is going to pull some ownership, I think. But Trendon Watford currently is questionable, I believe, coming into this one. He's yet another center at 3,400. And part of it for me on FanDuel, as opposed to on DK, I think he's got power forward eligibility. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Trendon Watford.
He's power forward. Yeah, only power forward. 3,900 for him over there. I think that if he ends up getting the start there for Portland, Yahtzee, and he's sub 4K, there aren't many plays like that left around the FanDuel parts. So Trendon Watford, last game of the night, if you need a swap around to make something work, you can. You do have two games closing in that window with Washington and Golden State there as well. So Trendon Watford, not a name that I've heard anywhere today. I think he probably is in line to see a major increase in role. And again, I don't know exactly the way the minutes are going to come across for Portland, but he's at least interesting.
Okay, so that's going to be the one that Eric has there. By the way, if you guys want access to any of the tools we have over at Stokastic.com, when you sign up for any package at all, using the link we have below, 50% off that package. So I know for a lot of you, you're tuning into basketball for the first time in a while. Football season ended yesterday. You want to know how to get some help with your NBA. Sign up for any package we have here and get 50% off when you use the link below. And that is going to also be something that could take into account our NBA lineup generator now. This is something, especially if you guys are newer NBA DFS players or just rejoining the fray after being in with the football season for a little while. Our NBA lineup generator is going to help you build lineups, going to make plus EV lineups for you, and it's less than $10 to sign up for it. So take advantage of that as well. And 50% off on something that's less than $10, you're getting it for close to nothing. Steven Eckelman. I've got lots of Christian Braun and Nasir Little. Feels like too much. Do you guys like either of them tonight? Any good pivots in that price range? I like Little, not really Christian Braun, though.
Yeah, Christian Braun. Another thing that's nice about Little and why I like getting to some of those Portland pieces is, one, they're playing the Lakers, like as good of a matchup as you can possibly get. Number two, last game of the night, last window of games of the night, you do have some swaps currently available to you in Washington, Golden State. I'm trying to get to a couple of those pieces. We're going to figure out some news. I think that Pelicans news is gigantic for my builds tonight. We're still kind of waiting on exact totality of what's going to happen here with CJ McCollum, but Brandon Ingram is already a jam spot. We just got word Josh Richardson is ruled in. He's available to make his debut. He's a flat 3K. Way to go, DK. So that's at least interesting there too. But I want to have some exposure to some of the late spots to be able to take advantage of that Pelicans news. A lot of people are going to be using up lineup spots as they should be in those early games. So if you can find a way to get a little bit of exposure to take advantage of the late swap, we preach that all the time on the show. And why? Well, because it works long-term.
And some questions from our Discord channel. This is Lippy. I'm getting a shit ton of Luka, 85% at 18% ownership. What am I missing? I'm aware Irving is playing. I think you're missing that Irving is playing. But like he's so in terms of paying up for Luka, I don't think he's unplayable. It's like 85% is aggressive.
Correct. That's kind of the deal. Yeah, you do not want to be doing that. And like there's always that meter of like when you build things out the way that I do things. I know Adam does it pretty similar too, where you see these major shifts on certain players when they're really, really low owned. You end up with a lot more of them. We have to look at the completely different circumstances he's playing under. And yeah, Tim Hardaway Jr. out there doesn't matter nearly as much as Kyrie Irving being available and playing major minutes instantly for Dallas.
And now just circling back on the situation with Jalen Suggs potentially being viable and that we don't have Cole Anthony playing anymore. Is there anything else that you're really getting to from Orlando? It's something that I'm just updating before.
So Jalen Suggs definitely was the first guy. He's been starting there. So that's at least the plus. I just think that there are enough pieces on Orlando where they can kind of fill it in. But like Cole Anthony, somebody who in his minutes does a lot. He's over a fantasy point per minute guy, eats up usage, assist rate has gone up here in recent games as well. Jalen Suggs starting, I think that just gives him a little bit more certainty on what those minutes could be. He's played, 27 in that one start he had 2 games ago. Then he played 28 off the bench in a close Miami spot. I think he's pretty locked in to start, locked in to play 28 minutes or so, 27 minutes. Giving him 3 more minutes makes him look really, really good on this slate for me.
Yeah, so I have him right now for about 24.5 fantasy points. That's going to make him look pretty good.
It's really good. I have him just a little hair short of that, and I'm still getting to 22% of him.
Yeah, so rerunning lineups for that now. The Black Mamba, DeRozan or Levine tonight? Who do I have more of?
No, he hasn't. He literally started 2 games ago, Michael Pazzulli. Jalen Suggs did. I think that's what he was talking about.
DeRozan or Levine? I prefer DeRozan. Cheaper.
I prefer, but prefer isn't probably the right word. I will be forced into DeMar DeRozan.
Well, I have more exposure to him right now, so that's.
I have 4% of DeRozan. I have 1% of Levine.
Just Locks wants to know small forward, power forward that we like a lot over on FanDuel. I would say Lauri Markkanen and Max Strus, Anthony Davis. Jimmy Butler.
Magic's not starting. Fultz, Harris, Franz Wagner, Banchero, Carter Jr. He's not starting today. Sucks. I had to go back and double check that one. Power forward on FanDuel, Jimmy Butler, 8,900. Your favorite.
Yep. I meant he was in my list. For somebody who I have all this beef with, and him and I have gone back and forth in many Twitter exchanges about the future of our fight career and potentially fighting on the undercard of a Jake Paul fight. I do roster him a lot in DFS.
Yeah, I know. It's really hard not to. Denver, he's 8,500. He had that little stretch where he just wasn't shooting the ball. I don't know why he was so disinterested to play basketball for, what was it? January 20th and 22nd, he played 26 and 34 minutes, and he shot the ball a total of 14 times total in 2 games. What? So that was a pretty large outlier, but what happened was his price dropped to like 7,400. People still weren't playing him. He's up to 8,500 now. That's still not enough. I like him a lot today too.
Some more super chats here. And this one is from, let's try to get through these quickly too, because we got a bunch of them. Frankie Lofton, $40 single entry DK, AD and Lillard, or Jokic and Trey, and why? Thank you. AD and Lillard. Lillard to me is just one of the better pay up options on the slate, especially because of the lack of guards we have to pay up for. And then Anthony Davis just benefiting from the absence of LeBron James.
Love it.
Michael McKinney, Suggs or Vincent, and Clarkson or Simmons. I assume he has to mean Simons. He can't.
Yeah, he has to mean Simons because Simmons is unplayable. He's playing like mid-teens minutes.
Yeah. To me, it is still Simons over Clarkson, and then I'll say Vincent over Suggs, especially with Suggs not starting.
Are people saying Suggs has the green check mark? That's hilarious to me.
Does he really? Oh my God. Does that change your opinion of him?
No, I have a ton of him. I have more than 30% of him now. People aren't going to get there in time. It's beautiful.
I'm playing a ton of Ingram right now.
Oh, yeah. Brandon Ingram's a jam. Brandon Ingram's a great play with CJ McCollum, and he's like a, hang on, can I say it? Nuke! He's a nuke if he plays without CJ McCollum.
The channel gets shut down tomorrow. You guys know why.
Josh Richardson, too, at a flat 3K. If he makes his debut and there's no CJ McCollum, like there's a chance he starts. I just want to throw it out there. I'm not saying 100 because I'm pretty sure Jose Alvarado makes the most sense of guys to jam. Like he would become the best play on the slate at 3,200 with the late news. But just be on the lookout for a random Josh Richardson starting.
I'll be on the lookout.
Well, I mean, because you're playing DFS, you should be doing that anyway.
I'm not taking your advice, though.
Thanks.
Jay Bravo, FanDuel shooting guard Heald or Clarkson. I prefer Clarkson today.
Yes, same.
The next super chat is from Avi Schreier. Avi wants to know Jackson or Tice for Indiana on FanDuel. I guess because he's starting Tice, but neither is the real answer.
Yeah, I don't like Tice. I do not. I would have played an eternal amount of Jackson. Sorry, Mr. Jackson. Woo-hoo, you are not starting.
That wasn't a good one.
Yeah, get to more super chats. Stop it.
They aren't. Why are they not showing up for me?
It seems like a personal problem.
All right.
Eric is a great fade every single night, baby. Every single night.
Am I going to pull this out? Oh, here we go. Teddy Wayman, thoughts on Kessler to get different on FanDuel. He has so much upside on FanDuel because of the blocks. There's other centers I definitely think we have to prioritize, but I like Walker Kessler today. Corey Shea, wow, called that a minute before it happened. Which one?
I don't know.
Oh, the Tice starting. Okay.
And this is a really uncomfortable.
Fielder.
Also, what do you think about Kyle Anderson on FanDuel? I just looked at our boom bust tool over there for him. On DK, I wanted to see. Yeah, he's not
real. One more super chat. Darren Anderson, AD over. Why not AD over Jokic? Almost 2K cheaper on DK. Jokic is the best fantasy producer we have in the NBA right now.
Yep.
And then the other thing too is that Jokic has no Jamal Murray and no Aaron Gordon tonight. So I have more. Like 80 isn't a fade for me. I just have more Jokic.
There you go.
And then the other super chat that we have here, somebody's giving you props for calling Daniel Tice. It was, it was Corey Shea said, Eric, I think Tice starts. Look at him.
Oh, here's the thing. What I said was that Indiana has a propensity to do really stupid stuff with their starting lineups. Insert stupid thing they did with their starting lineup.
Now, with that said, I don't really think there was a smart thing to do.
No, you're backed into a corner. And it's not like Isaiah Jackson is some breathtaking basketball player that they can't live without. It's more of just like from a fantasy perspective, which is, kind of what we're trying to do. He is by far the most appealing. And now he is by far the most difficult guy for me to get to on that team. Because, well, if he plays 15 minutes, you don't want him. And if he plays 22, you want all of him. So it's a huge bummer.
Brandon Whitney. Also, can you do me a favor, Jordan? Do we have any overlay on No House Advantage? I want to make sure that we bring that to the people. Potential overlay on No House Advantage. It overlays a lot. So we'll check that in on a minute as we wrap up these super chats. Brandon Whitney, favorite 10 p.m. players. So the 10 p.m. games, Lakers, Portland, Damian Lillard, Anthony Davis, Washington, Golden State. I'm not really getting a ton from Washington, Golden State.
Washington, Golden State is difficult, but I'm kind of manually adding a bunch of like Lillard, Davis, Simons, a little bit of Russell, Drew Eubanks. Like I'm getting myself to those late pieces because there's just an opportunity of finding some value there. And plus Jordan Poole, I'm in love with. Pretty much every single tournament slate.
I like Poole as well.
Yeah. So Jordan Poole, just play a ton of him. And so that's like the one piece from that game I just get to lots of, but otherwise I'm with you. It's just not nearly as appealing as the other game.
And then also Nasir Little, and Nasir Little is in my player pool as well.
Oh my God. The amount of Brandon Ingram I have could choke a donkey.
70% full, according to Jordan Klein. So you guys got 5 minutes left to enter some NHA contests, a little bit of overlay there. And if you sign up using our link below, up to $100 bonus on your first deposit. So go check out No House Advantage and props against the house you could play. We're going to be looking at that in the post-lock show here. My filler arc, Suggs or Graham. I got some more Suggs.
I got to so much Suggs. 24% is where I finished at.
Yeah, I don't have that much, but I think he's a good play.
He's a very good play.
I have more of him than Graham. Going into, by the way, CJ McCollum is going to be a game time decision today.
Oh, yippee-ki-yay, mother truckers.
Go blue, Poole or Clay. I have more of Poole.
I have a lot of Poole.
News God, Batman or Superman. One of them has superpowers. One of them is actually rich. Superman. Ernie P. Top 3 owned players at each position. And for me at point guard, it is Lillard, Sexton, and Vincent. For you at point guard?
It is Alvarado, Poole, and Simons. Obviously, that can change.
Shooting guard for me is Strus, Ingram, and Sexton.
Hang on 1 second here. Copy, paste. Shooting guard is Ingram, Strus, and Taylor Horton-Tucker, and Poole.
Small forward for me, Strus, Hayward, and Taylor Horton-Tucker.
The exact same, then Benedict Mathurin.
Power forward, Hayward's also there. And then I have so many guys that I have.
Olynyk, Butler, Markkanen, Hayward, they're all like 20%.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have a bunch of guys who are like 15 to 18% for me.
You and I are building pretty similar then in terms of like just spreading it out at power forward.
Center, Mark Williams, Nikola Jokic, and then like a bunch of guys also. Clint Capella, Walker Kessler, Kelly Olynyk, Anthony Davis. But my two favorites there are Mark Williams and Nikola Jokic.
Love it.
More questions here. Sam Cassell Dance. Will you and Eric please share a forward option you like on DraftKings for 5,000 or less? Of course I will for you, Sam Cassell Dance.
I will, and then I will. Well, let me upload my lineups first, and then I will do that.
Cool. I got
you.
this. Gordon Hayward's my favorite. If you already have Gordon Hayward,
I knew you were going to say that. I'm way under the field on Gordon Hayward today.
Benedict Mathurin, if not.
Yes, I like Benedict Mathurin.
We've answered all of those. Let me make sure that there was no super chats that came in last second. Suggs or Graham, we answered that one. By the way, News God saying that the Batman disrespect is real.
Dude, I love Batman. Love Batman. Here's the thing. You're like, oh, I want one that has actual superpowers. Well, I'm assuming Superman could just enter like the world's strongest man and make eternal amount of money every single time around. He probably hasn't been properly capitalizing on his superpowers, whereas like Bruce Wayne just inherited a bunch of money. But like being rich wouldn't suck.
No, I would just take Superman in a fight against him. By the way, question. We could discuss this more later.
That's true.
Big dream, $4,500 or less as a pivot off of THT on FanDuel. Shooting guard or small forward?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have no idea.
That does make it a little tricky because I don't know which position you're trying to fill. But all right, if we had to pick one player on FanDuel, just in general to be a pivot off of Taylor Horton-Tucker, who is it that you would choose? For me, it's Mathurin.
Yeah, I love Mathurin today.
Yeah, and I know Mathurin's also fairly popular, but he's still less popular than THT. And
he's dynamite.
I think they're very similar. So to me, I'm going to say Mathurin.
Cool.
Let me make sure that we got all these super chats. Questions in Discord answered as well. Once again, guys, running out of time here. Final few seconds. If you haven't answered over at NHA, there are still some overlay there. So you guys should take that. Take advantage of that. Sign up using our link if you haven't already. They have props against the house. You guys might be in a state that doesn't have legal sports betting, but don't worry, because over at No House Advantage, they have props you could play against the house. And also, I don't know if you heard this, Eric, they have better prop parlay odds than what Prize Picks does.
They do. Better. Big time. It's a better, again, the 5 out of 5, just being paid 21x your money as opposed to the 10x. Like you can disregard the, you get 4 out of 5, you still get paid 2x. It doesn't matter. Over the long haul, if you're playing a number of cards, you are so much better off playing at No House Advantage with that payout structure than you are over at Prize Picks.
Yeah, we've got Bean Dude says that Batman is Mark Cuban with a toolbox. I couldn't see Mark Cuban as a superhero, though.
Yeah. Well, what's he going to do? Just yell at people and refs? And again, it's weird because Mark Cuban, I think the shtick's gotten old, and I think he's probably gotten tired in his old age now, too. Like, they used to zoom in on him every single basketball game. I feel like I haven't seen him at a Mavericks game this entire season.
he's also very old to look at on camera now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I know you mentioned he's getting older and whatnot, but also too, it's very visibly apparent when they go close up to him when he is at basketball games. Like, oh look, he aged 30 years during the pandemic. He just looks a lot older now.
Yeah, he's seen some things. He's been some places.
Super chat from Julian Forletta. He is asking us, any love for a low-owned Cam Johnson in GPPs?
No.
I mean, the answer is certainly no. The biggest problem I have with Cam Johnson, and I think we got a question about him way up at the top of the show. First game with the Nets, he played 29 minutes. They have so many forwards on the team that outside of Mikal Bridges, I don't know there's another forward that's going to regularly play big minutes for the Nets. And by the way, their team is sneaky good.
CJ McCollum ruled out. Jose Alvarado, 100%. I'm a genius.
Let's talk about the New Orleans Pelicans situation now, and some questions we got really quick here as well. Lippy saying that he's 100% Luka and 0% I like before he asked this is 85% proper for Luka, and we said no, so we said okay, 100%. Not exactly what we meant when we said that that wasn't the number we like getting to.
No.
And then
sorry, I just had Tourette's on that. I apologize. That was really rude of me.
What did you do?
I just screamed as soon as that news came out because I was so happy. Because I did say Jose Alvarado being my highest owned point guard, did I not?
You did, but I think that was a little bit offensive towards people with Tourette's.
Oh, I apologize to them.
That's not. They don't yell Jose Alvarado and CJ McCollum.
I did like an absolute.
It's a misunderstanding of the. It's a misunderstanding there of what happens. Starting lineup for the Nuggets, by the way: Brown, Caldwell, Pope, Porter, Kankar, and Jokic. So there is nothing unexpected there. One more question from Jets World here, and then we're going to talk about the CJ McCollum news. Also, shout out from Sam Cassell Dance, who said, "Thank you for your helpful answers at Ehrenberg, Greg. You are a true professional." I noticed he left Eric out of the ats there. Jets World, Avdia and Jokic, or Butler and Davis for the DK 777. That is Butler and Davis for me.
Alvarado's going to lose minutes to Josh Richardson. One, no. And two, they're both like 3K and 3,200. What are we doing here? Why am I even on these shows, Greg?
Because everything needs a punching bag. Like there's no, all right. So entertainment in general, everything needs a foil, right? Everybody can't just be the likable character. That's where you come in. There's a place for everybody here, Eric. And as for CJ McCollum being out, we do have to give Eric some of his fair due here. He was the one who said that Jose Alvarado was going to be his guy. He had some sort of slip up where he actually, you know what it was? It wasn't Tourette's. You had an orgasm. That's what it was when CJ McCollum was ruled out. That's more akin to what it was. Jose it was, As soon as he was ruled out, Eric climaxed.
Alvarado, why don't you? No, it was a Desperado joke. Don't mind me.
It wasn't a joke. It was
singing poorly.
Yeah, it was singing. Sorry. At least this one kind of the words made sense. But thanks. We've got Jose Rich. I combined them. I said Jose.
I saw what you did.
Josh Richardson, Jose Alvarado. Are you going to just be? Are you considering Richardson here as well? Is it all the Alvarado?
Yeah, I'm gonna play some Richardson. And again, this is a volatile decision. What you're gonna do with this? We just got 4 games that locked, and again, this is kind of why I'm happy about playing more Alvarado just preemptively, and then getting to Jordan Poole more, getting to Simons more, getting to a number of pieces that were showing up later because I wanted maximum swappability. CJ McCollum is a massive piece to be missing, and I feel like it's not going to get the kind of due that it should on this kind of a slate. I like Jonas Valanciunas at 5,800. I think they're going to offensively have him there. I know that doesn't necessarily matter nearly as much because Larry Nance is just the thorn in his side eternally, but just in terms of putting a ball in a bucket, I feel like Jonas Valanciunas sub 6K is a very interesting tournament option on a deep center slate. Josh Richardson is a flat 3K. I don't know. We've never seen him play for this team, but they did go out and acquire him. And this is a team, if they can get Zion Williamson to figure out his hamstring one day before the playoffs start, they have a shot in the West because it's just down. I mean, Suns went from being pretty much, just whatever to being the favorite with the Kevin Durant trade. And that's still a team that now is missing a lot of wing presence in terms of defense from Mikal Bridges and Cameron Johnson, which they gave up. And you do that 10 times out of 10. I'm not saying that, but like, I do think Josh Richardson is going to be somebody that has to play a serviceable offensive role for this team coming off the bench. And there's an outside chance that he starts. I still think it's going to be Jose Alvarado. I'm playing him a ton. He's 3,200. We were paying $5K for him in these kind of scenarios. He's going to project out the best out of anybody by a landslide. But if you just take some shots on Josh Richardson and he plays 22 minutes, he is a good fantasy point per minute producer. And Brandon Ingram starting, I mean, Josh Richardson, I assume coming off the bench is going to have all the usage and all the land.
So here's another part of this, though. It's a big slate, 11 games. So I had it set in Fantasy Cruncher to make it so that I could not play more than 3 players from any one team. Are we willing to play 4 players from the Pelicans now? Because these are some really cheap pieces.
Yeah, I'm going to get to Herbert Jones. I'm going to get to Trey Murphy. Not anything crazy because they're $5K respectively, but I do find Josh Richardson and Jose Alvarado to be by far the most appealing options in terms of value there. And then Brandon Ingram, 7,800 point per dollar, even. Like, the guy is just outrageous. He projected out well, right around 44 fantasy points before that news. I've got him right around 50 now. He's just going to be in almost everything I do.
Yeah, and I mean, that was also before when we were reading off our most rostered players. Oh, great. The Magic added another player. Exactly what we
Goga. Yeah. Goga.
Yeah. More players for the Magic because they didn't have enough guys to give, 22 minutes to. We already like Brandon Ingram a lot. That's not going to change. Just going to play even more of him. But by the way, the thing that I was saying before, are you going to play any lineups that have 4 Pelicans players in the same one?
Probably not. We'll find out. I gotta update, and then I will let you know for sure. Probably still going to be 3.
I'm thinking about changing it because, like I said, it was a max of 3 for me in every team. I didn't even have that many lineups with 3.
Who are your favorites? Because we have the 3 same favorites. Like, it's got to be Ingram, Alvarado, Richardson, right?
Exactly. But these guys are also so cheap, Richardson and Alvarado, that I do like. There's a path where you get Ingram, Alvarado, Richardson, and then one other upside player from New Orleans.
I don't disagree with it. And again, I think the difficult thing for me is like, if Kira Lewis plays like 18 minutes as they try to like adjust to Josh Richardson, I would be so upset. Like, I think the thing that's going for us is like, I kind of want Josh Richardson to come off the bench. Otherwise at 3K, every good player worth their salt is going to get a ton of him. And I don't know how much of an edge there is to mine out of that. Alvarado, 3,200, just jam him. But I'm pretty sure like Kira Lewis is probably still in this rotation now. And that's the one that's like difficult for me because that could snipe away enough from some of the other guys. Like Trey Murphy, they're not priorities. Herbert Jones, Trey Murphy aren't priorities, but they're definitely pieces I want to get to. I'm probably with you where I think you can get to 4. I'm going to keep it at 3 for the time being and see what happens.
We got a question in Discord from Gelby. He's saying on FanDuel, this is going to be an easy one for me. Which 2 do we prefer of the following? Alvarado, Suggs, Strus, Vincent, Alvarado, and Strus. Easy. Easy. Any different opinion from yourself?
Nope. It's perfect. I'm just trying to remember. People always remember, just like your what call. I don't remember. I've done so many of these shows. I'm trying to give you the best opportunity to win today. The past is the past, baby. We move on.
Exactly. I like to play in the future, though. My filler arc. One more question for Showdown. Kayla Martin, or by the way, I don't know. How do you pronounce Kankar properly? They say it very oddly on the broadcast, and I can't pick it up.
Kankar. Yeah. Every time I look at it and then I say it, it never comes out correctly. Josh Engelman's the only person who can properly say it. He's said it correctly to me multiple times. My brain malfunctions. I think it's Kankar, right? Like a Kankar.
Well, it's no good that I looked up how to say it, and it said it just gave me cancer, the pronunciation for, which is different. That's not how he says his name. It is
Conchar. There you go. Conchar. No. There we go. Char.
Yeah, it's not joke. Charmander. It's not
Charmander. Char.
Yeah, I think we're getting further away from what it actually is.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah. Does he evolve into Charmeleon? Who's to say?
I hope so. Charizard. Oh man, if I had kept those cards, wouldn't be on this show right now. I can tell you that much.
The next super chat is from. By the way, I went out to dinner with an old camp friend a while ago. We talked about this. I went to a Nets game with him. He kept all of his old Pokemon cards when he was younger, and he has all of them in cases in good condition. He's like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of Pokemon cards. Fucking nerd.
I probably have over 100K in Kobe rookie cards. I have
cool.
pages and pages of rookie cards. Well, I'm not going to tell you where I grew up at. I don't want to throw my address out there for the people, but I have hundreds of Kobe Bryant rookie cards because when I was like a kid, I was like, this guy's going to be very good. And I did that for like every rookie, like Damon Stoudemire. When he came out, I have probably more Damon Stoudemire cards than I have of any other individual NBA player ever. But Kobe Bryant worked out.
Peter Glazer, where does he live? See, it's a trick question. Eric was homeless growing up. We did get a super chat here. We got a super chat here from my filler arc. One more question for. Oh no, that was the one we already answered. Oh, we didn't actually give an answer between. We just made fun of the name, and we didn't actually answer.
Good on us. I've been very focused on my own lineups today. I'm laser focused today. What was the question? Repeat it.
It was Martin or Kankar.
Oh, Martin, but neither.
He said for Showdown though.
Oh, then Caleb Martin for Showdown.
What is the... I'm going to go the other way. Sorry, Eric. There's just so many...
have to be contrarian on me. I get it.
He's starting. He's super cheap in Showdown as well. Fair. There's no Jamal Murray, no Aaron Gordon.
Go ahead.
That's my answer. Suck it.
Go ahead. Pay that man his monies.
I knew where you're going.
I love
Splash you. Is a pot.
See, we have our moments where we like each other. See Twitter.
Yeah, we like each other very much. Very much. Eric's one of like my 8 favorite people I work with here.
Thanks.
The list at the bottom is much easier to figure out, though. Sam Cassell Dance, Poole instead of Ingram, a bad mistake.
Poole instead of Ingram. It's not a bad mistake, but I would just answer with, why can't you play both?
Yeah, I strongly prefer, if it's one or the other, though, if you could only play
strongly one, prefer Ingram.
Strongly prefer Ingram.
Ingram is my highest owned player. Him and Alvarado, 1-2.
And let me check if we have projections. Oh, we'll come back to that in a second. Let's go to NHA. No house advantage. We have our NBA Bet Pro. We're going to look at this and look at some of our favorite props we can play over at No House Advantage. And by the way, if you guys have, like I said before, the NHA, if you haven't signed up, use our link below. You're going to get up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit. But if you want to check out NBA Bet Pro in conjunction with any sportsbook you're using, or if you're somebody who's playing on NHA, you can get a 1-week free trial. Click on the link below, 7 days for free to check out NBA Bet Pro. And here's what I think is going to happen. I think you're going to make money in that 7-day free trial, and it's going to pay for the subscription moving forward. So check that out and take advantage of the free offer while it lasts, because a lot of our free offers don't last forever. They kind of go away. So check out Bet Pro and get in for free while it's still available. NHA props against the house. Oh, they have not adjusted Jokic yet. It's been this amount of time they haven't adjusted Jokic yet.
You should do that.
24.5 is his point prop over.
Oh my God.
Over
and over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Marshawn Lynch it.
Pump Jokic there. Like, that should just be the staple. Go over to NHA. Play Nikola Jokic. That's crazy. Also, this kind of shows how inefficient their lines could be sometimes. How long ago? What was it? It's been an hour and a half those guys were rolled out?
84 years.
It's been really long since those guys are rolled out, and they have not updated it yet.
Yep. You should play that. Oh my God. I'm so happy. My lineups look so good. This is going to be a terrible night. Somebody's going to get hurt. Something terrible is going to happen to me because my lineups look way too good after that first wave. I'm so happy with them.
Some other props we have projected really well. Kevon Looney over 8.5 rebounds. I like that one quite a bit. Oh, by the way, another one. Brandon Ingram over 5.5 boards. Haven't adjusted Ingram yet. Go play Ingram.
Just go fire Brandon Ingram and Nikola Jokic and make money, please. Please go do that.
What else?
DK still has Jokic at 24.5 as well. That is just wild to me. Yeah, wild, I tell you.
Hit the over. I haven't looked at the DK props, but yeah, that's an over in my book.
Mello the nuts. It's LaMelo just going LaMelo, doing LaMelo things. I did bet his assist prop today.
I will go check that. Is there anything else that stands out to you in Bet Pro?
I'm looking over at it right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Jokic one is just a smash. I'm so happy with that. Brandon Ingram, we talked about that. You brought him up as well. Let's go back to Luka Doncic here.
Mm-hmm.
It's so weird. Luka Doncic, I want to be shorting. I do. 7.5 assists. Probably a little bit. I mean, that's more I'm okay passing on it, but like, I'd be okay mixing up some cards, and something that I've talked about a lot on these shows. And then we had our guy Sean's on bring it up in one of our chats today, just talking correlation. Like, look at some of the correlations you can put together. Like, if you take Luka Doncic and the under there, find yourself another piece of that Minnesota game that, maybe is closer in terms of projection, but like, in the event that game doesn't shoot out, in the event that, something goes poorly, Minnesota blows them out, something like that, find yourself onto like Kyrie Irving props, onto some other props. So even if it's just, oh, Eric, it's only a 57% win percentage, 56% win percentage, who cares? There's an opportunity to correlate with some of them. Like the Anthony Edwards one has an over attached to it. I'd probably be getting away from doing something like that in the same card, but for sure, finding some unders on those make a lot of sense to me.
And by the way, we have some updates to the projections for the New Orleans Pelicans players up on the site. Should we leave them off? People have been nice, right? Should we read them off?
I don't know. Some people, I feel as though they've been a little bit more ornery towards me over the course of the last week. I don't know what I did, but you know what? Bless the people. Give them the love.
Yeah, just do us a favor, guys. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and some free stuff for you guys from our projections. Brandon Ingram now, and I'll do it for DraftKings first, then follow it up with FanDuel. Ingram, 45.51. He's leading the way. No surprise there. We've got Valanciunas right around 31. Jose Alvarado, 26.5. Trey Murphy, 26. Herbert Jones, 25.5. Larry Nance, 24 fantasy points. He's pretty expensive now. Josh Richardson, 23 fantasy points. Najee Marshall, 21. We do have Kira Lewis in the rotation playing 15 minutes. I think that's totally reasonable.
Yep.
Not enough to make him viable, but enough to where we don't have like Richardson and Alvarado each projecting for like 30 fantasy points. But
yeah, that was kind of my major concern, was like what I'm going to be doing with him being in the rotation. Yeah, 15 minutes was what I gave him exactly. And we just got the starting lineup. Alvarado is in it. Nice. Exactly what we would expect it to be.
Yeah, good call there. Alvarado, Herb Jones, Ingram, Murphy, Valanciunas. Just to make sure we tie a bow on this here, and then I'm going to read off the FanDuel projections. In order, what are your priorities for the New Orleans Pelicans now?
Oh, by far, Alvarado and Ingram, 1A, 1B, and then Josh Richardson, and then Jonas Valanciunas, probably fourth. Herbert Jones and Trey Murphy, they're just kind of mixing in, nothing all that appealing.
And
so exactly what I said it was before. Like the exact.
Moving over to these players over on FanDuel. New Orleans Pelicans, Brandon Ingram, 44 fantasy points. Valanciunas, 29.5. Herbert Jones, 26.5. Herbert Jones is much better looking on FanDuel than DraftKings because of the defensive stat bonus. Jose Alvarado, 26. Trey Murphy, also right around 26. Larry Nance, 24.5. And then Josh Richardson, 22.5. Josh Richardson, vastly different play on FanDuel than DraftKings. Do not play him on FanDuel. He's 5,700.
No. And on DK, play a lot of him.
Yeah. It's funny how that happens, different sites. But obviously, when somebody's 3,000 versus 5,700, something's different there.
Well, part of it is FanDuel. You can get into that mid-range and just play a lot of underpriced pieces. But they've been doing a good job of not having guys that are sub 4K over on FanDuel available. That's where like Trendon Watford is a guy that, like, for me on FanDuel, if I were playing there today, it would be somebody that I would artificially bump up. He has power forward eligibility, which is nice. You avoid all of the centers that you want to be getting to over there. And then, it just gives you one piece of value. But now you don't really need him. Like, there's not even a spot for him anymore because of how good this Pelicans value is.
It's going to adjust some lineups here and some early results. Crushing right now. By the way, Mark Williams, I haven't watched a lot of Mark Williams, and he must be a disaster on defense. It seems like people put up a lot of fantasy points against him fairly regularly. We are 5 minutes into the game. Clint Capella has 8 points and 4 rebounds in 5 minutes.
Yeah, he's very good. Clint Capella, I got to a little bit over the field of him, but not by enough, I think. He was just another center on this slate. Everybody else got the thumbs up. I ended up with 19% of him, but like, I mean, my God, Mark Williams and Jokic are just going to be every center in my life. And Jonas Valanciunas stripped away a little bit of the ownership that was going towards. I'm under 50% Jokic now. I'm happy with that.
And by the way, Mark Williams in his own right is off to a decent start. He does have 4 points and 2 rebounds in 5 minutes. So, yep. I mean, he's a really good points from a fantasy producer. It's not like he's off to a poor start. Spurs and Cavs. This game already off to a fairly one-sided start. The Cavs are up 16-7. Wouldn't be surprised if the game continues to trend that way. Evan Mobley is 8 points and 2 rebounds from the Spurs. Only have 7 points halfway through the first quarter. Everybody sucks. In the Jazz Pacers game, Kelly Olynyk, 7 points, a rebound, and an assist for Kelly O so far. Markkanen, 7 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist. Those are the high performers there from the Pacers. Daniel Tice, 2 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist. Good start for Daniel Tice. And then Aaron Nesmith, 8 points and 2 rebounds. Nesmith only has, as you might say, nuke games. If Nesmith is playing well, he's playing really well.
Yeah, he'll do that.
I feel like I'm not playing enough of Alvarado right now.
You're not playing enough of him? I have north of 90%.
No, I just ran lineups and I got to him in 33% of my lineups.
That's weird. He's like projected for 27 fantasy points at 3,200.
I know, but there's so many good cheap players to roster.
Yeah, so roster them.
Oh, you know what I need to do? I think I might have to change the maximum amount of Pelicans I'm allowing in lineups.
Okay, that might be it, but also that wasn't an issue for me. I just have a lot of the regular usual dudes.
Yeah, I mean, mostly my exposure there is the Ingram, Alvarado, and Josh Richardson. But yeah, I'll rerun this one more time and change it and see what ends up happening.
Yeah, let me run it one more time too. Something weird just happened where I only got to like 70%.
By the way, Pacers go to the bench. It is not Mathurin as first man off the bench. First substitution, Jordan Noir and Isaiah Jackson checked in.
My fudging fudge.
Good start for our Rockets as a big underdog. They are leading in the first quarter against the 76ers.
So beautiful.
14-13. And Embiid's off to a good start, but I found it nearly impossible to get to Embiid today.
Yep. I found myself on just tons of Jokic after we got all of those guys ruled out.
All right. Run this one more time.
Yep. That's what I'm doing.
How much are you getting to? A lot of Richardson?
Yeah. 42%.
Okay. Item 35, and I was wondering if that was too much, but if you're
there, the range of outcomes is wider than you want it to be. But all of those, here's what people don't think about enough. It's a flat 3K piece. And yeah, you're going to need, 25, 30 from every single spot. Sure. But like, there are enough ceilings that I can rotate through on this slate at the point guard position, center for sure, lots of spots. His shooting guard, small forward eligibility, plus the fact that he's the stone min, kind of negate all of that for me. He's just going to show up in a lot of spots. And I just don't know who comes off the bench and creates offense for New Orleans. Who else does it other than Josh Richardson?
Nobody else does it. It's just
that would be the answer.
Just Josh Richardson.
He's it. Be the hero Gotham deserves, or Superman, depending on your take.
Yeah, well, Superman's also just kind of the reason Superman isn't interesting is because he's a cheat code.
It's true.
Like, what do? I'm good at everything and I'm really handsome. Oh, cool. That's an entire thing. Fuck off. By the way, Caitlin Horton-Tucker is checked in fairly early there. And here's Mathurin checking in now for the Pacers. Jazz up 20-17. Some super chats as well. This one is from Slink the Second. Not Slink the First, Slink the Second, Junior.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Richardson and Poole or Jose Alvarado and Beal. Ooh, that is actually going to be Richardson and Poole for me.
Yes, I love that combination today.
All right, there we go. Now I've got more. Now I have like 40% of Alvarado.
You have more in your pool?
No.
Okay.
I'm not playing along with that one. It made me upset. Not doing
you have a line and I've crossed it.
Yeah, I'm not doing
that's
that
fine.
one.
I get it. Sorry.
Do we have more super chats here? Yes, we do. Pierre.
Oh, yes.
Oh, Pierre from Eric's favorite place, France.
Uh-huh.
DeRozan or Butler on FanDuel?
Butler.
Cheyenne DeWald, SGA and Simons, or Dame and Wendell Carter Jr. I don't like Wendell Carter Jr. SGA and Simons.
Yes, let's do that.
It's our friend Hippopotamus. Suggs or Alvarado, if I had to choose between them. It is Alvarado now.
Yep, Alvarado by a mile. I do have a little bit of Suggs still.
One of the consequences of this, Jalen Suggs was somebody who we kind of liked before. It is very difficult for me to play Jalen Suggs now.
Baby, I'm Jalen Suggs. Yeah, no, it's very difficult too, but I have a tiny bit.
I did too, except before he was somebody I like kind of was digging as a contrarian play. It's just the opportunity cost of not being able to play as much of the Pelicans guys, a little much to overcome.
Agreed. Oh, honey bear. I just have so much Alvarado and Ingram. If they do poorly, I might as well just I don't know what I'm going to do. Definitely not watch basketball anymore.
And that's going to get us caught up on those super chats. Let me check Discord to make sure that there is nothing in here that we're missing. Up, Ernie P. Who are our favorite guards on DK? So now that the dust is settled, who are the point guards and shooting guards you have the most exposure to?
Ingram and Alvarado, and I don't think there's anything close to them on this slate.
It is for me. Well, Strus is still a good option.
Strus is still a good option, but you now have a 3K Josh Richardson I find to be pretty appealing too.
So let's see. Point guards for me amongst players who haven't started yet: Alvarado, Damian Lillard, and Colin Sexton. Shooting guards of players that haven't started yet: Max Strus, Brandon Ingram, and Josh Richardson.
Yep, those are my 3 too.
Anything changed for you as far as the forwards go?
Not really. I'm finding myself Josh Richardson has small forward eligibility. Olynyk was my highest on power forward. Him and Jimmy Butler still guys I'm getting to. Lauri Markkanen as well. I ended up being under. I talked about it on Gordon Hayward. Paulo Banchero, I'm getting to 8%. Power forward's just so spread out for me today. Just across. I'm just getting across to everything at power forward.
No, makes sense. It's not the best position in the world.
Sure isn't.
By the way, you mentioned LaMelo Ball before. 7 minutes for LaMelo Ball, 7.6 assists.
Seems good. I like the over of 8.5. It's going to go well. That was such a jam.
Yeah, it looks like LaMelo, and also LaMelo's going to score 60 fantasy points tonight.
Makes me happy. Daniel
Buffington, Yahoo DFS, Eubanks at $11 or $10 for Jose Alvarado.
Alvarado.
Is there any more of these here? Just making sure we got everything.
Hello.
Looks like we are caught up. Eric, what's most likely to ruin the night for you, other than you being yourself, NBA wise? DFS.
It's really rude. In fact, Nikola Jokic playing poorly, Jose Alvarado and Brandon Ingram dying on the court. That would be bad. That'd be very bad for me.
Oh, yeah. In general, I wouldn't enjoy watching people die.
I'd really hate that.
What could go poorly for me? So one player I had a decent amount of when we started the show was Jordan Poole.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit hard to get to Jordan Poole now.
A little bit difficult.
I would say if Jordan Poole is a ceiling game, I'd be pretty annoyed. Those are the most annoying when you late swap onto, just better points per dollar plays and somebody who had a lot of exposure to before has a ceiling game. Is there anything more tilting?
Being on shows with you.
Fair. Discord, any other questions for you guys before we wrap up? Just the one from Ernie P. So that is going to do it for us. If you guys haven't done it yet, do us a massive favor by liking the video and subscribing to the YouTube channel. It's just a couple clicks of the buttons, but it really does help us grow the channel, helps us keep our content free. Shout out to No House Advantage, who is the sponsor of today's show. Guys, thank you very much for watching. We will be back here tomorrow.